Hello and welcome to another live chat. We'll see how TikTok limits me to about 5 people for the first. That depends how they're feeling. Hello to anyone that's just joining. This is a live. I haven't done one for a couple of weeks, I think. So I thought I'd jump in and do a live. Hi, Darina. How you doing? I hope you're well. And hi, Frey, as well. I hope you're well. So welcome to the people that's just joining. Just started this live, and as you may know, we might be limited to about 5 people, where TikTok boots off anyone that gets over the number 5. So it goes back down to 5. Hi, Dorina. So I'm just waiting for people to start, people to join in if TikTok allows any more than once. Oh, thank you. You don't have to send me a heart. It's very nice of you. Thank you. So while I'm waiting, while we're limited to 5 people, I knew we would be. I said we was. While I'm waiting, I'll just waffle on a little bit. So I've finished the Bible book. There was a couple of spelling errors that I noticed after I sent it to the publishers. So I'm waiting for the copy to come back of the book of the Bible. It's called OTH Bible Rewritten. So once I get that and I can see how it looks and everything else and how it feels, I say that because the font's changed. It didn't let me use the same font as before, which is really weird. But anyway, so yeah, Bible Rewritten. I don't know whether you guys are going to like it or not. It's a bit like the Bible. I tried not to put evidence in it because obviously the Bible doesn't have evidence. It just literally tells you stuff and you're supposed to believe it. Thank you, Jane. Hi, Jane. Hope you're well. Goddess Jane. So yeah, the Bible Rewritten's interesting because the general premise of it was literally to go through the Bible and where possible, just write my version underneath Young's literal translation version of what happened. Unfortunately, I can't help but throw in evidence here and there. I just can't help it. So it does sometimes go off on a tangent compared to the other sections where it may just sort of say this is what happened, blah blah blah. And there's some interesting things in there. Some things that you guys might not know. I'm not saying you have to go and buy the book, but there's some things in there that, like the Holy Spirit. I've never spoken about the Holy Spirit properly, and what that is, and that's. History and Coins wrote, morning, it's from freezing Australia. Oh, morning. It's not too bad here today in the UK, but just wrap up warm, look after yourself. Yeah, so I haven't done, there's certain things in the Bible that I've never really spoke about. Jesus on the cross, I've got mentioned a couple of times, but so obviously this Bible Rewritten book goes through a lot more and explains why certain people were given certain tasks and things. That basically, if you know your Bible, then this might be of interest to you. If you don't know your Bible, see, I'm not interested in. I was never interested in the Bible because obviously the Bible has got errors in it, and it's religious as well, which I never liked the idea of religion, even when I was a young kid. So this version, if you can bypass the religious side of it, obviously I'm not religious, so if you can bypass the thought that it belongs to Christianity or Greeks or not Greeks, Roman Catholics or anything like that, if you can pass all of that away and look at it for what it is, then I think you guys might enjoy the new book that's coming out. So I'm just waiting for a copy of it to be sent to me. Thank you, UFO Annie. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for sending the heart. You don't have to, but thank you. So yeah, so that book should be really interesting for you guys. So I'm just scrolling down. Doreena's wrote, where will you be selling the Bible? Amazon or your own selling platform? No, it's Amazon, yeah. So I've got some books out already. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. You don't have to. It's very nice, though. I guess people are pleased to hear me waffling on again. Maybe. I don't know. I'll pretend that you are. Yeah, Amazon. So it's the I don't know how it's going to play out for an audio book, because what it does is it says so pretty much three quarters of the book is going through the Bible. The other quarter of the book is giving you guys things that you may not know, why things have been said, what the Anunnaki would have done, not necessarily from the Bible, but what they would have done prior to the Bible being written. In other words, things that the Bible, like the daily bread type thing, that kind of thing. Thank you, History and Coins. The daily bread, where the Anunnaki tells us that they gave us our daily bread, and of course, then you end up with a hymn, and so I go through who the hymn would be for, etc. So there's a lot in it. Hopefully you guys like it, but yeah, like I say, for the thank you, History and Coins again. For the audio book side, I don't know how that would work, however people could grasp it, because obviously it goes YTL, and then it explains the passage in Young's Literal Translation Bible, and then underneath that it says OTH, and then it says whatever I say. So I don't know, because obviously you have to sort of keep concentrating on it, otherwise you could get lost in what, if you didn't hear the word YTL at the beginning or the audio book, you might think it's me waffling on. So I'm not quite sure whether that will work as a audio book or not, but it will come out on Kindle and it will come out on paperback for sure, and I'll have a listen to how it sounds on an audio book, and if it's a bit too much for people, then I probably won't do it, because it might be a little bit too hard to follow. History and Coins, I'm really interested. Oh, thank you, History and Coins. That's very nice of you. I don't know whether people are going to like it or not. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'll fingers crossed. That's all I can say. It's a weird one, because it's not a narrative, or it's not full of facts. Where I'm throwing facts in all the other books, I kind of feel vindicated. Whereas this, I didn't throw. Obviously, it's not a fact-based book, because I've done other books that are fact-based. UFO Annie wrote, in the garden, but listening, so glad to have caught you. Thank you. Were you looking? I know what you're looking up for, UFO Annie, in the garden. You're waiting for them to come in. I bet you was in Independence Day. You was on the top of that big tower when the UFO was coming over, and you was holding the sign saying, "Take me, take me." Was that you? Oh, bless. If anyone's interested, UFO Annie has got an amazing channel herself, and she really goes into detail on the more modern UFO sightings, etc., which is very interesting. And one day I'm going to get UFO Annie up. I need to obviously arrange a time and stuff. I wasn't even expecting to do a live. I just thought, I know what, I'll do a quick live. But yeah, UFO Annie. Follow UFO Annie if you're interested in sort of evidence-based modern UFOs. And in fact, with Spielberg's new movie coming out, I think we're going to get a surge in people looking it up. I really do. Thank you, Shabazz. Yeah, so Spielberg's film's kind of going to help. And the other thing is, the film that I've been doing, the Anunnaki film, I'm an hour and 6 minutes in. It is AI. Now, I know someone on another post says, "Oh, you've got no creativity then." My God, this is harder than making a movie. I've been filming since I was 15, I think it was. This is actually harder, because with AI it doesn't do what you want. So, for example, thank you, Emma. There's a shot that I needed. You still have to be creative. You still need to know how you want the script, and obviously I wrote the script. So there was a shot of this female that was in the car, and it was a close-up of her face, and with AI you have to tell it what you want it to do. So I said, right, start with the face, which obviously it's got, because I've given it the image of the face, and then have a shot of her putting her foot down on the accelerator. And it did it, and it gave her trainers, and of course she's got black shoes. So you need patience of a saint to do this with AI at the moment, because it doesn't know what you're trying to do. You can give it as many images as you want, but it'll still freaking change it. So I'm really pleased that I've got an hour and 6 minutes into the film. So thank you, Shabazz. It's going to be about at this rate, it's going to be about 2 hour, definitely 2 hours movie. So I'm only halfway through the script. So it plays out like I don't know how you would describe it. it's not really a sci-fi film because they're here on Earth, and it's not. The Anunnaki didn't really do much for the first. Thank you, history goes for the first 300,000 years, really. But it's got elements of mystery in it, and I won't bore you, but yeah, you know what I'm like, and you can imagine if you've read any of my books, you can imagine how the script plays out. It is good. Characters are really good as well, and I'm using real voices for the characters, so AI's voices are a bit hit and miss. So I've actually got proper actors that I know that have given me their voices and recorded the audio, etc. The script. So I'm replacing the voice with the proper actors. So yeah, if anyone's interested about AI movies, I've been doing it now for quite a few months, and I'm only an hour and something in. But obviously, I'm not doing it every single day, and it does cost. And if you're interested, I'm using Kling more than I'm using Sea Dance. Two reasons: Sea Dance costs a fortune, and I don't rate it somehow. It's for the shots that I'm doing, I'm using Kling, and it's perfectly fine. Anyway, moving on. Just scroll. The UFO Annie's put laugh out loud. That was because I caught her out with the plaque that she had on the top of the building. Matek has wrote invite. Hi Matek. So if you could let me know what it is you would like to chat about, only because you don't follow me. So what we've done in the past is where I've let people up. They go. I've had honestly one guy went. So what's this chat about? And I was like, you asked to come up, yeah. So you don't even know what I'm talking about? Not really. No. What's it about? I was like, oh my god. So if you could let us know what it is that you would love to talk about. UFO Annie's wrote, I love the Earth and my garden. Ah, I bet you've got a UFO shaped house, haven't you? Have you seen those? They're pretty cool. Probably not practical, but definitely cool. History and Coins wrote, there was light seen in Sydney, Australia last night. Media sand meteor. Interesting. Well, UFO Annie will probably know more about that than me. Interesting. I mean, I suppose literally every night there's probably lights up in the sky. It's just whether or not people are looking, whether or not they're filming, whether or not it gets enough attention. So we could probably say on that occasion that there was someone probably filming it, or it was enough over a big enough area for people to see. Is my guess. Yeah, but I've not heard about it. Obviously, again, I'm in the UK and we don't really get that kind of news here unless it's on TikTok. Jane had wrote to Matic, are you a Patreon supporter? Please, can you state the topic you're interested in? Exactly what I just said. Thank you, Jane. Spot on. Excellent. Amazing. And they've probably done a runner, maybe. Shabazz wrote, can't wait for it. I'm guessing that's the film as opposed to the book. Yeah, the film's way better than the book. There's a composer that did the music for the last film that I done, which isn't out yet. It's with the distributors, and they're taking a slow ass time about it. But the musician, he did the score. Well, did the score for the last film, but done a song for this film with a female singer. So it's not 100% AI. The whole film, it's got elements of real things in it, which I think makes a nice touch. Yeah, it is a good film. I've not sat down and watched the hour and 6 yet because I've still got dubbing and all that kind of stuff to do. But it's a weird way of working on this film because I'm normally on a movie, you schedule certain sequences that you will shoot. So if you've got a front room, for example, and twice in the movie they're in the front room, you shoot that all in the same day. So then you can edit that. Whereas this, I'm sort of going along as I'm making the film. So I'm just reading the script, going, right, okay, what do I need here? I'm making it. And if it doesn't come out right, then I'll either tweak the script or try again and again and again with AI. It's a really weird way of working for me, for a filmmaker like myself. It's weird. Because you sort of, even though you do go back to some locations, there's no point in doing that until it's weird. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted. History and Cosmology, I'm looking forward to it, and I've done short clips on AI. Yeah, it's the continuity is the hardest part. I mean, at the moment I'm doing a police chase, and when it turned the corner, there was a police badge on the sorry, there was a badge on the side of the car that they're chasing, which wasn't there before. So you have to then do another generation and hope that it doesn't suddenly stick something else there. Yeah, you can burn through the credits like nobody's business. Last month, I have a auto renew for £150, and then last month I burned through that in about 6 days. I was just on it all weekend and everything. I couldn't help it. I was enjoying it, and so then I paid another 150 just to re-top up the credits. And then I thought, no, when they ran out another 5 days, I thought, no, I'll work on the Bible book, and that's how I managed to get it done. So yeah, it will burn the credits up. History and Coins wrote, I'll send it to her too. I'm guessing that was the Australian UFO. History and Coins wrote, I sent it to you, God. Okay, thank you. I'll have a look for that then. UFO Annie's wrote, I wish a chalet with an amazing quorum sensing garden. I've never heard of quorum. Quorum? Let me know what that quorum is. I don't know. I've never heard of that before. Emma's wrote, what do you think of all these scientists dying? I mean, there's people do die, so that's if you said, oh, the company that I used to work for many years ago, if you looked up some of those people, you'll probably find out of the 400 people that worked in the same company, some of those have probably died, and you could say, oh well, they're all. So that's the first thing to think of. Obviously, just I always try and look at the logical first. Now, we do know people go missing as well, from people like David Paulides, where he talks about certain German scientists going missing, which makes you then think, okay, that's interesting. And then obviously these people here that have spoken about, I mean, they're really silly. They're obviously intelligent people, but they're silly. Like there was that person, the girl, which is really sad if she is dead. That is literally on social medias explaining that they've created anti-gravity devices, which is, I know not to say that. If I did, I know not to say it. You don't talk about it because you end up disappearing. So I do believe if those type of people that's bragging about something or talking about something that is. There's certain things in the world that, as Dr. Stephen Greer said, there's certain things in the world that once you affect the money train, that's when you have issues. So waffling on about lights in the sky and old aliens and everything else is not too bad. Once you say, hey, I can cure cancer, or I can solve the petroleum problem or free energy, and once you start biting into those kind of things, that's when the people seem to have the issues. And that's that's not me saying that. That's you can look up all the people that's created the free energy that's never managed to get it out there. Even people that's created cars with water and stuff like that all seem to disappear. So it's, I mean, when you look at the people dying, you've also got people like Nick Pope, which people seem to have forgot that he died fairly recently. You've got David Wilcox, and you've got Eric von Däniken. 3 big names in the ufology field. Is that because a film like Spielberg's film's coming out and they know that these people are going to probably get a lot more attention because of Spielberg's film? And they will. When a film comes out, they'll, like Saving Private Ryan, they brought out all the old World War II people and all this kind of stuff, real people. And that's what happens. People are interested in something, and they'll go to the source or go to a source. And these scientists, these ufologists, etc., are the sources that people would go to. So there may be more than one reason why these people are disappearing. It may be a collection of things. It may be the fact that Gender 2030 is coming up, and they want certain people to disappear nice and easy before before then. So I don't know. I mean, I do think, yeah. I mean, we know what they're like. We know how people disappear, how their brakes fail, and I've said it on these lives how they there's certain Mirandus operae, however you pronounce that, where back in the day it was you would off yourself basically, which is what happened to Marilyn Monroe, and obviously she didn't do that, but that's what you read in the newspapers that they done themselves in. The other one back in the day used to be the brakes failing. Then you've also got the what else do you have? You have the hit and run, where they were an unexpected target. They were in the way, which turns out they were actually the target. But of course, we get told, oh, unfortunately, they were in the way. And now, obviously, you've got the microwave equipment that they have outside the house and literally give you cancer. And you just look back. I've been doing this long enough to see people dying of cancer that shouldn't really have died. Suddenly, within 6 weeks of them find out they've got cancer, they die. Thank you, Nicole. Hi, Nicole. How are you? I hope you're well. So yeah, I when it comes to money, all bets are off. Really, unfortunately, it was really sad because I hate greedy people. To kill someone over money, over greed, over power, I don't like it. I just, that's just not me. History and Coins wrote, "Oh yeah, I've burnt through lots of credits." Yeah, you do, especially with unfortunately, when I started doing this, there wasn't the 4K option. It was only HD, so this movie's only going to be HD, but it'll be out for everyone. Everyone can download it. I might do an extended version for Patreon users, but everyone will have a copy of it, and it'll be on BitTorrent if anyone wants to download it as well, and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it can burn through the credits. Brett has wrote, "Is the US government lying about disclosure?" When you say lying about disclosure, obviously they haven't really done. I mean, do you mean what they're giving us, the snippets of the bits that they're giving us now? If that's what you mean, yes, they've done that before. I mean, in my 2016 book, I talk about the disclosure they had, or so-called disclosure of a couple of things, lights in the sky, all that kind of stuff from 2012. So they've been doing it all along. They just sort of drip us stuff to keep us happy. They're not going to show us, a dead picture of a dead body or an alien, or they're not going to bring out an alien or anything like that. They're never ever going to do that because even Trump may want that to happen. It's just never going to happen because it'll be national security for the first thing, because they'll say, well, these UFOs, obviously, if you've got an alien, you've probably got a UFO, and if you've got the UFO, then now other countries are going, aha. Okay, so they've probably got anti-gravity technology. How fast can this thing go? Could they take out our equipment? Can we bring it down? How do we bring it down? Can we back engineer it? All that kind of stuff. So they're just never going to do that. So they're not lying about disclosure. They're giving us these, odd videos here and stuff like that. But we've already had them. We've had them for a very long time. So yeah, it's just another one of these ones where it's not going to be. Thank you, History and Quiz. Where it's not going to be a full disclosure. It never will be. Thank you again, History and Quiz. It will only be, in my opinion, it will only be full disclosure when the population suddenly drops to 500 million, which is what the Georgia Guidestones, as well as aliens, have said that as well as whistleblowers have said that they're trying to get us down to by giving us stuff in the body, whether chemtrails or otherwise. So yeah, once there's 500 million, then they'll obviously have people be chipped. They'll have they won't own their own home. Everything will be state run. Banks will be state run. Everything's going to be state run, and you'll do whatever they tell you to do. Otherwise, you will end up in one of those camps that are already built. So then they can tell you about aliens because they want to use their tech to redo. This is why it's called the Great Reset. They want to reset. They're going to bulldoze all the old houses and everything. It's just going to be an AI, literally an AI location. Wherever you go will be run by AI. You'll be walking through gates of a complex, and it's got cameras. It will know what you're doing, and it will lock the gates if you're late. It's going to be horrible. But people don't realise that that's what's going to happen, but it is. Absolutely. Sadly. Scrolling down, Zach has wrote Spielberg knows more than most. Sorry, not Zach. Zesty. Sorry, I apologise. Yeah. I mean, he hanged around with Jacques Vallée, who helped him on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So yeah, he does know. I know he says, even on a recent interview with Stephen Colbert, he's sort of like, I don't know, I know the sort of same as you guys, roughly what he said, but he doesn't. He knows more, way more. You don't spend your life interested in aliens and not learn stuff, especially when you've got connections like he has. He even on that same interview with Stephen Colbert, he says, I'm friends with Barack Obama. When you've got friends in positions of power, as well as friends that were, like I say, Jacques Vallée, who was sort of the godfather of ufology. So once you realise that he's in that circle, then yeah, he probably knows way more than we do. I mean, look at ET. Look at ET with the long neck. If you go to SOM 101, which is Special Operations Manual, you look that up online. There's two mentions of two different creatures in. Well, I say creatures, aliens. One's called Eben 1. This is what I called them back then. This is a Special Operations Manual from the 50s, early 50s. So they didn't term the word in greys or zetas or anything like that at that point. They just called them Eben 1 and Eben 2. Have a read of that. So look at ET with the little long neck where it goes, the neck goes up, little feet with virtually no legs. Go read SOM 101. You can find it online. And you'll see that the description of ET is not that elongated skull is not that far off, big eyes, off of I can't remember if it is Eben 1 or Eben 2. Forgive me. So yeah, I mean, you don't come out with that if you don't know about it. I mean, I didn't know about SOM 101 until after ET was out. So how the hell did he pull out the bag something that the military knew about and I didn't? I'm not saying I should know everything. I'm just saying I tried my bloody best to learn as much as I can, and I'd never heard until I read SOM 101 about that type of alien, and of course then I was like, crap, that's ET. So yeah, he knows, and obviously George Lucas, in my opinion, also knows. That's why I think Chewbacca would have been Bigfoot, which in my opinion is an alien that flies around in space. But the ones here were on a crashed prison ship. That's my belief in that. History and Questions, it's okay, 3:20 a.m. I'm going back to bed. I'll come back when I wake up. If you're, oh bless, oh wow, 3:20. I'm privileged and I'm honoured, but please get yourself some rest. That's very nice of you, thank you. Nicole's wrote, hello, Our True History and all. Hi, Nicole. I hope you're well. And Nicole sent a rose. Thank you very much for that. Scrolling down. I love the Truthers wrote, bloody frequency devices, nanotechnology. When you say frequency devices, I'm guessing you mean weapons as opposed to, because otherwise, sorry, I don't mean to sound rude. I'm just trying to work it out. I'm guessing weapons because otherwise, when you wrote bloody frequency devices, what you're using now is probably using the frequency, and but yeah, I think or should we say, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying there. Sorry. I love the trophies wrote. We need to put the people before the system. Yeah. The sad thing is, I hate it when they say, oh, it's all progress. I mean, it is. I've got a Meta Quest, which from a young age I dreamed of having a 3D environment, and now I've got one. So yes, it's progress. I'm just using that as an example. It's progress, but it comes at a price. Um, you know our liberties are being eroded. They know everything about me, and there's headsets where the cameras are actually pointing at your eyes so they can see your face, and then you can upload your own avatar, and you're you're you are being marketed, so it comes at a price, and whether or not you like it, it's true, sadly. Avatar has put our true history with a praying hands, or it's a high five. I found out someone said, which I didn't know. It looks like praying hands, doesn't it? Scrolling down, UFO Annie's wrote, Quorum Sensing Garden is polyculture that relies on soil bacteria to manage the garden, no chemicals. Ah, right, okay, that's probably why I've never heard of it. Not my field of expertise, but that's, yeah, I mean, the chemicals, you're right, what they put in, if you can do, I guess if you can do what you just said, Quorum, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, then that's surely got to be better, isn't it? In some ways. Emma's wrote, I don't think the average person is ready to accept the truth. You make a fair point. I mean, that's one of the reasons why supposedly Project Blue Book, back then they didn't give out the true information because they said people weren't ready for it. I think now people are probably ready for it. It's just whether or not it affects their pocket. It sounds stupid, but I know people that I've chatted to and stuff, and they're like, yeah, so what's that got to do with me? But there's aliens, yeah, and they're flying around, yeah. Are they going to help, with the petrol costs? No. So what's it got to do with me? So I think there's a lot of people that won't bother unless if you said, oh, aliens are going to come and your house price is going to go right down or something like that, then they'll be more interested. But I think there's a lot of people out there that will just go, oh, okay, I thought there was. I might be wrong, but that's the way I take it. Obviously, the religious people, I think I've spoke to really. You've probably heard me chat to them. I think religious people in their heart know. I think they do, regardless of what religion. I think in their heart they're like, yeah, there can't be an invisible man that tried to flood us. That there's more than one God, and then trying to make an excuse up for why it says in the Bible there's more than one God, and and then they bolt on the Holy Trinity and all this kind of stuff. They must know. Then they're either completely gone, or in their heart they're thinking, I don't really want to believe, but it's true. Let me tell you something in a sec. Let me just read a couple more, and I'll tell you something that's going to blow your mind. UFO Annie's wrote, so many UFO sightings, they just can't hide it. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're right. Unfortunately, we've got drones now, so the excuse is now. Back in the day, obviously, we didn't have drones, not like we've got now. So now people can just say, "Oh, it's a drone." Obviously, we know it's not a drone, but they can use that now as an excuse. Back in the day, it was an aeroplane that didn't have his lights on, or it was a helicopter, or it was a black, military helicopter that didn't have the thing and didn't have sound, and they try to make all excuses to get around, UFOs. But I think now they'll use the drones as an excuse. Obviously, there might be some that probably are drones, but not the speeds. And well, I mean, saying that, some of the speeds that the UFOs drones can do is quite phenomenal. But if you way up high, I mean, down low, a drone looks like it's going really fast. But if you was trying to measure that between one place and another in the sky, it will be quite slow compared to a UFO. So you can sort of work that out from that. Scrolling down. History and Coins wrote, okay, I'll be back. Okay. The Terminator will be back. Brett has wrote, can you give 2 predictions for 2027? No, I never do dates, I'm afraid. And the reason why is because, in fact, there was something that was supposed to happen a month ago where I said to someone a few weeks before on a live chat, don't give dates. Don't. It's not going to happen. And of course, whatever it was, I can't even remember what it was. It didn't happen. So, yeah, no, I don't give. The only thing I do say about is obviously Agenda 2030. That's what was set up by you know who. So that's the only thing that I have in my head that's they're aiming towards. I'm not saying they're going to succeed dead on 2030, but that's what they're aiming towards. But I can't give you any predictions because the only thing is that more and more laws, more and more rules, more and more security cameras. They need all this for 2030. So we're going to get stupid laws. We're going to get more people in the country that don't belong in the country. Any country that they don't belong in, they're going to let them in deliberately. There's a whole reason for that for the agenda. So that it's just going to carry on and ramp up even more. I mean, here now you're allowed to do crimes, petty crimes. Well, I say petty, as long as you don't. Normally, whatever would have been under a custodial sentence for a year, so anything that you would have normally got a year for inside being put in prison for a year, you don't get that now. It's literally just a slap on your wrist. Now you think, okay, that's interesting. You piece it all together like I do. Piece it together and then say, okay, who would steal stuff? So basically, it's mainly thieving. Who would need to come into our country? Who would need to steal stuff and get away with it? And who would they allow? Thank you, Shanester. Who would they allow to get away with it? You get the idea. They also here in this country changed it from a criminal offence to a civil offence that you don't have a driving licence. Now, who wouldn't suddenly need a driving licence when they come here to this country? You get the idea. There's loads of laws like that are helping a particular group of people, and your country is going to get it too. There's certain countries around the world that do things first. I've seen Australia when it was doing with the COVID and all that crap. They were doing things before we were, and on this occasion, we're doing things probably before. So there's loads of these laws that are helping people not get put away. That will be doing things that, well, you can probably guess. So yeah, unfortunately, that's my predictions, and it's just more of the same but worse. Sad. I wish I didn't know this stuff. It does keep me up at night sometimes. Salvatore's joined the row. Hello there. Hope you're doing well. Oh, thank you, Salvatore. I'm not too bad. Thank you very much. Salvatore's wrote, I'm counted down the days to watch your Anunnaki movie. I cannot wait. Oh, thank you. It really is good. I mean, I've shot I think 7 feature films and Christ knows how many other documentaries, proper documentaries and stuff. Music videos for proper bands and stuff. I've been, and I got to admit, this is far more interesting because, like, I did a cowboy film. We hired the set and everything. It was quite an expensive movie, and when you finish shooting, if you come back and you haven't got what you need, you either contract it into the actors' contracts to say reshoots, or you edit round it and hope for the best. Whereas this way, if I don't have what I want, I just keep trying. All right, it uses credits, but I keep trying until I get what I want. And it's kind of weird because as a film director, I'm like, oh, do you know what I could do with a shot there of the guy, guy's feet or whatever. And if I didn't get that on the film shoot, that's it. I haven't got it. But now I can just try and get the shot that I want, which is so it's going to make filmmakers redundant. I mean, not the writers. I think you need heart in the film, a script, proper script writer still. Obviously a director to see the vision, because otherwise you can just bolt any old crap together and hope that it works. But he's still a damn good editor, which is luckily enough I'm an editor as well. So that's the three things that I think you need. You don't need special effects, you don't need musicians, you don't need actors, sadly, but you do need those other three things, I think. So yeah, it's going to be good. The people that I've shown clips to, that more clips than what you guys have seen on here, are like, wow, that looks so good. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm desperate for you guys to see it. UFO Annie's wrote, "Oops, tapping did not mean to request." Sorry, I hardly ever look there. If someone wants to come up, just send a message instead of the request, because I forget to look down there. Shanesters wrote, "You're welcome, thank you." He's wrote, "God, where did that come from?" Thank you, Shanester. I don't know why you call me God. That's not. Set Apart has wrote, "Interesting topic." Thank you, Set Apart. I've if it's to do with aliens and stuff, I've been researching for the last 40 odd years, so I'm pretty good at it. Right, let me tell you guys what the thing is that I was going to tell you that I think is absolutely amazing and blow your socks. So I've been doing some research recently into DMT, about whether or not people can actually experience something on the other side of our body. As you know, I always research, even if I'm driving, I'm researching. But I did some research into what constitutes a myth, because you know that if you type in Anunnaki on anything, whether it's museums, anything, it's a myth, right? You're going to love this. Absolutely going to love this. So, a myth is something that they believe isn't real, basically. So there's criteria. So I looked at whether or not Genghis Khan was a myth. Genghis Khan is apparently real, according to the establishments and museums and all these crappy idiots. I'm going to call them idiots, and I'll tell you why in a sec. The numpties. You know why they believe he's real? Wait for it. They believe he's real for a couple of reasons, not many. They don't have his body or a tomb or anything for him. They've got people about 100 years later talking about him. That's the first one. Keep that in your head. Then they've got contemporary, meaning at the same time, talking about Genghis Khan from Persia, back then Persia, and China. Okay, so you've actually got something that's happening at the same time, people talking about Genghis Khan. Fine, no problem at all. And then the third one is that he has coins on them, with his face on. Okay, no problem there. And fourth is there are places that supposedly that is to do with Genghis Khan or his descendants. Okay, wait for it. That's it. There's only a couple of bits in the Chinese and the Persian parts. Now, the Anunnaki have got people talking about them at the same time and after, so that ticks that one. The Anunnaki don't actually have any coins for themselves. However, we have cylinder seals, we have carvings, we have statues of them, tens of thousands of them compared to one coin. So that trumps Genghis Khan's one coin. Then we have people talking about them at the same time. So we've got Babylonians, Akkadians, Sumerians, etc., talking about the Anunnaki at that time. So then the only other thing that we need is there any buildings or locations that the Anunnaki said that they set up? Well, funny enough, yes, we do. We have their temples. We have where they named they named Uruk, which is now Iraq. They named Nippur. They named Sippur. They named way more than Genghis Khan. And in fact, we've even got one more little ace up our sleeve. We've got the Code of Hammurabi, which is what the Anunnaki So their names are on it. Their names are the people that dictated the laws that mainstream believe the Code of Hammurabi is real and was used by people, humans, to follow their laws. But mainstream won't accept who wrote the laws or who gave us the laws, even though their names are on it, Marduk, Enki, etc., at the top of the Code of Hammurabi. They won't accept that. So you can probably guess that Genghis Khan is real because of those handful of things, and the Anunnaki that's got Christ knows how many more things are myths. So from that, just remember, next time you ever hear the word myth, just make sure you realise that that's actually should be true. So change the word from myth to true. Honestly, because that's what they do. They lie to you. Absolutely lie to you. So that I found that so incredulous that the mainstream are that thick or that bought or that scared or whatever to lie to us like that. It's ridiculous. Sorry, I get frustrated over it. Set Apart wrote, tell me something that shook the living daylights out of you, and then wrote laugh out loud. It was something years ago. I'm trying to remember what it was. Something years ago, and when I learned it, I was like, wow, oh wow. I'm trying to remember what it was because since then I've found many things out. What was it? It was. I honestly can't remember now. Since then, I've done loads more things, but there was one thing that I was like, oh, wow. I'll tell you one that I do know recently that shocked me was hell, where I solved what hell was. In fact, there's another tablet which I didn't even know about when I did my hell video that backs up exactly what I say. The guy. So it was the 15th king on the King Sumerian list. He's got his own tablet. His name's Etana. He goes to the inner earth, the underworld, and it was in Abzu, which is exactly what I said. Which, if you believe mainstream, they'll say, oh, it's fresh water or deep water, but it's not because he went there and went inside a mountain, which I said I believed it was inside a mountain. You've probably heard me say that before. So I need to re-edit, I think, that hell video. As you can see, I get excited when I solve something, and I keep, and I get more backup evidence. Amazing. So, yeah, hell. Finding out that hell was a place over in South Africa that was run by Nergal and Erishkigal, where you would take bodies, etc. That blew my mind as a more modern, more recent one that I found. The fact, because obviously you hear the stories of, oh, hell, you're going to go to hell, you're going to this and that, and you'll be judged. And obviously I've heard that since I was young. But to actually piece it all together, be the only person to do that with evidence, it was lovely. I'll be honest. I should be knighted. Set Apart wrote, I recently experienced paranormal. Oh, interested. Let me know what kind. Obviously, there's different types, but I'd be interested to know. Salvatore's wrote, military-made UFOs. Do you think they have tech to abduct people too, like the grey true UFOs? Interesting question, Salvatore. It's one that I have thought of. So go number one in the class. That is a good question. So obviously we know. There's so many people out there, especially mainly cattle ranchers that have seen UFOs lifting up their cows in a beam of light. So obviously there's people get lifted up in a beam of light. And in fact, if you watch my video on how aliens use it, that we've actually got the technology now to lift up something using light. I'm not making that up. Not a whole person yet, or should I say, the mainstream hasn't got the ability to lift a whole person yet. But whistleblowers have said that there is technology that's already out there that will pick up these huge pallets and move it using light. But on top of that, we actually do have the evidence that we can move something with light. It's called something tweezers. light tweezers, I think it's called. Anyway, so yeah, so if the UFOs that crashed didn't have or landed and was taken, whatever, the back engineered type ones, if that technology wasn't destroyed and we had the ability to back engineer it, then yes, we should be able to pick up people ourselves. Now, if we believe the whistleblowers and the fact that we have these light tweezers, I can't remember what the name is. I don't think it's optical. Is it optical tweezers? I think it might be called optical tweezers. If we look at the extrapolation of where these optical tweezers will end up, maybe in 100 years, 50 years, we'll be lifting people up. It's the way it's going. That's from the people that's doing it. They said, we'll be able to do that. So it's not science fiction and it's not fake. So if we've got that technology now, did we get that from ourselves, the people that's doing these optical tweezers, or is it dripped down like lasers were and fiber optics from a back engineered or from a crashed UFO? I don't know about the optical tweezers, but if we know about them and we've got them now, and we know the military are normally like, they used to be 40 years ahead of us. That was back in the 80s. They're probably 100 years ahead of us now. So yes, I would say they would have the ability, even if it wasn't from the aliens. They obviously, we know about the lights that come down and pick up people and cows and stuff. So the military would have known about that, and they would have been working on. Hang on a minute, how do they do that? So they would have been working on it themselves, even if they didn't get it back engineered. I think the logic is, if an alien does something, if it was me, if I was that way inclined, if I was a leader or something of a military, and someone put on my desk, UFOs are picking up cows with lights, I would say, right, okay, let's dedicate some money, figure out how that happens, because we know it's doable. Because if the aliens are doing it, chances are we might be able to do it. Obviously, we may not have the exact same mechanics or technology or whatever, but it's obviously doable in some fashion. So yeah, a good question, Salvatore. So I would say yes, they can do that. Kerry's right. Hi sir, hi everyone. I'll be in and out. Work is busy today. Oh well, it's better to be busy than not, otherwise you would have been stuck listening to me all the time. So thank you, Kerry. It's good to be busy. Neotic Cosmos has wrote, raise me host, I can go deep on these topics. The first problem is you don't follow me. I do like people that follow me, only because it means that you've got some understanding, because you've obviously watched my knowledge. Now, what we wouldn't probably want to do is have you come up. Now, I don't mind you coming up, but there's a couple of problems here. This is why I like people that watch my videos, etc., because they know that I will point out where errors are. And I do that all the time. It's not because I'm nasty. It's because I'm good at what I do and I like the truth. So what happens is, where people come up and they'll say something that's incorrect, I'll say, I'm so sorry, but that's incorrect, and here's the evidence why. And after about a minute or two of them getting shut down, making up rubbish, they then hate me, and and I don't like that. So when you say you can go deep on these subjects, again, it's not personal. If you make up stuff or think you know stuff without the evidence, like if you don't have evidence, what I do is I say, I've heard this, or I believe that, or it's my own thoughts. If I've got evidence, I'll point to the evidence, which you've probably heard me saying. And I'm very, very logical, and I'm very good at catching out people making up stuff. I'm not saying you will. I'm just saying that's what happens. I've got a 6-hour video on YouTube where I'm debunking literally everyone: Billy Carson, David Wilcox, religious, you name it, museums, everyone, literally everyone. And again, it's not me being big-headed. I just want the evidence out there, and I don't tolerate people making up stuff, because it's just a waste of your time and my time. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying that's how I roll. That's why I like people that watch my videos, because they go, yeah, I'm not going to go up there and try and tell him how to suck eggs, because chances are he already knows it and will make me look stupid. So that's the kind of reason why I like people that follow me, because they've at least watched one or two of my videos and think, okay, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to tell him what I know, because he probably will point out where the errors are in it. Again, it sounds like I'm being big-headed. It's not. It's just how I am. I just like evidence. Scrolling down. UFO analyst wrote, so here is a new thought. Some of the stuff flying around, could it be old tech from the past? I'm guessing you mean ancient tech as opposed to 50 years ago. Could it be ancient tech? Well, funny enough, Annie. Funny enough, that new star that was shown on the video, I'm sure you've seen it. I know you probably have. There are descriptions of stars in ancient texts in the sky, literally crosses and stuff like that. And there's a painting as well. One of the paintings has got some sort of almost very similar to that cross. So could that have been ancient tech? Well, then you go on to the train of thought is, are these the same flying objects that can traverse time? Because if they can manipulate gravity, then gravity is obviously what equals, E equals mc squared, and you end up with the mass, etc. And obviously, if you're negating the mass, then you can probably somehow eventually figure out how to time travel. So are these craft, or some of these craft, ones that are just hopping back from, from 15,000 years ago, or from, 1,000 years ago, and just popping in to do whatever they want to do and then go back again? That's totally possible, I think. I can't see why they wouldn't be able to do that. And I do believe they have got the ability to travel in time. I've mentioned it many times myself, why I think they do. So I can't, it's a good question. Go number 2 in the class for that. It's a good question. I can't say no, because obviously there are descriptions of craft. I mean, like the Tic Tac one, Remy Lemures, the police officer, described one as a Tic Tac shape, and that was back in the, I can't remember if it was 60s, 70s, or 80s, and yet they're still using the same type of craft. Or are they? Or are they travelling backwards and forwards in time? Or did it take them that long to get here that, 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, that their craft that we're seeing now is the same craft, but back on their home planet they may have upgraded it and learned a lot. And so I can't answer it really, UFO. It's a good question, because obviously there's no way of knowing, but I can't say no to it because of the descriptions in ancient texts, as well as the Vimana, and even the not Quetzalcoatl, I can't remember the guy's name now, sorry, off the top of my head. Kukulkan Khan, even his ship is almost a pyramid shape, and so there are talk about people seeing, and I've seen videos of pyramid shaped UFOs. In fact, there was that won't bore you, but yeah. So I mean, you've probably seen them as well. So are they the same ones? Are they time traveling? Or because I mean, with us, we're upgrading our technology. I mean, look at an aeroplane from 100 years ago to what it is now. We've got massive jumbo jets with 2 stories on it and all sorts of stuff, but they're not that dissimilar. So for an untrained eye, you could sort of say, our a small jet is very similar to a Spitfire. You could say both got wings, etc. In other words, it's not a total redesign. But then obviously UFOs, as you know yourself, UFOs, there's all sorts of shapes. You've got saucer shapes, the triangular shapes, the cigar shapes, and pyramid shapes. And so are they upgraded versions from ones before? Like the George Adamski UFO, no one's really ever said about one similar to that. So was it him making up? Did he see a UFO? So in other words, is that an old type of one and they've upgraded since, or did he just make it up? So there's lots of variables, I'm afraid, UFO. So it's a fair question, but I can't answer it as a good question. Salvatore's wrote, do you think Enki and Enlil died for being here on Earth or their age time? So that they were, if you believe the Moorhen translations, they were older, or they aged quicker than what they technically should have here on Earth, which is understandable. I mean, they were sun-kissed, which means they were sunburnt, and we know that shrivels up the skin, etc., and causes health issues. So that's just one part of it. Obviously, the gravity is different, probably, to their gravity. I don't know how much by it. They didn't. I've never read anything that sort of says anything about gravity. They call it net force, by the way. The Anunnaki in the translations is net force. If that's interesting, but I've never read. Obviously, they knew about the net force because they talk about it when they're coming to Earth, for example, but they don't talk about it when they're on Earth. They don't say, "Oh, the net force means I can jump up higher or I feel heavier or whatever." They don't say that, or I've never read anything. So they die. I certainly believe Enlil was younger than Enki, so it's totally possible Enlil may still be alive on his deathbed. Now, there is mention that they could have de-aged them or rejuvenated them back on Nibiru, but the idea was that they decided to stay here, which is up to them. And so if they did stay here, then I think certainly Enki died. I mean, there was a royal tomb. If you listen to Samuel Noah Kramer, he mentions twice about a royal tomb, and the only oldest people would have been, and royal would have been, so you can narrow it down. That's what's brilliant about it. You can narrow it down. When you've got royal, you've got Enlil's family, you've got Enki's family. Nimna was their half sister, but also the mother of Ninurta, which was Enki's son. So it's all three of them. So when you've got a royal tomb, the only other person that we know that may have died that would have been royal here on Earth, not Alula, because he was buried on Mars, and that's backed up. That is backed up by the Greek stories. If you're interested, go watch my documentary on who was Kronos. But the only other person that I'm aware that died that would have technically been royalty would have been Dumuzi, which would have been Enki's youngest son. He died. We know that. We've got tablets of that. He died. In fact, I was reading the same tablet the other day, which is the first time I've actually read that. It's in, again, another one that backs up the Moorhen translations. Another one that backs it up. So there's virtually nothing left now. So I was even reading the one where Enlil seduced a young girl. I found that now. I admit I didn't know where it was. Sometimes you don't, unless you find it, it's difficult to know. But yes, so I found that one. I was reading it the other day. I mean, the Moorhens and the Sitchins, they add a little bit extra to the tablet, which is fine, just to help you understand it. Doesn't quite say exactly what they say, but yeah, he definitely did it and everything. So I found that as well. I was like, wow, thank God for that. So yes, I think sorry I digressed, but it's interesting stuff to know that the Moorhen translations every day. I'm catching up with stuff that's out there that's not from the tablets that they translated, but yet backing it up. So yes, I think they died because of the cycle of the Earth for whatever reason. Yeah. Snoopy's wrote, yes, you should be knighted. You should be our ambassador to space. Thank you very much. Spielberg said he would be. Bless. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. That's very nice of you, Snoopy. Get a gold star for that. Yeah, Spielberg said he would be. So I'll happily let Spielberg do it. I am a fan of Spielberg, I admit. I was always a fan of Spielberg. Always have been. Can't say I like 100% of every film that he does, but he's one of the few people I'd like to meet that I haven't met. Salvatore's wrote, how tall was Enki and Enlil? Did Anunnaki saw height as a status strength as we do? Funny enough, I was doing a video today, finished it off today. It was the Boston Manor Library, Boston Public Library video. So I don't know if you guys know, there's murals on Boston Public Library in America. Loads of them, actually. There's loads and loads. But the ones that we were interested in is the people that sent me the videos of the pictures of what's on Boston Public Library was done by a guy called Sargent. He's got a first name I can't remember. I only just finished the video this morning and I can't even remember his bloody first name again. But anyway, yeah. So something Sargent. He. This is why I read everything over and over and over, so it sticks in my head. He drew or painted these murals type things. They're actually not murals. There's another name for them, but he painted these things. And what on the surface looks like an Anunnaki standing in front of possibly Horus, behind him, the Egyptian Horus, and in front of him is people crouched and screaming and everything, humans, and then the other side is just a generic Egyptian pharaoh holding a scepter. And so people were sending me that, saying, look, Anunnaki. So I had a look at it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting, because why would this person, this is old, this goes back over 100 odd years, why would this person know about Anunnaki? So I did a deep dive into a serious deep dive. I spent so long, I kept pushing. If you're a Patreon user, and you wonder why the date kept getting pushed back on the Boston Library video, it's because it took a long time. I know it's not a long video, but it took a long time to decipher everything. So long story short, it wasn't. When I looked at it, I knew straight away that it wasn't an actual Anunnaki. The Anunnakis have hats. This was an Assyrian king, and that's actually what was painted. However, there is another picture. So in other words, did the Boston mural? It's called the Israelites Oppressed, and it was to do with. That's why the people in the middle were screaming and crying and everything. It was to do with the Assyrians and the Egyptians, and the Israelites were in between getting mullered every time the Assyrians and the Egyptians went to war. So that's fine. Okay, that's great. It's a great documentary that I've done. However, thank you, Jazz. However, so. I looked into whether he was a Mason. I looked into whether he was a Jewish. I'd looked into all the other pictures that he's done in other libraries and museums, etc., etc. And on the surface, I couldn't find anything. I was just like a guy that learned. I even looked into whether or not back then he would have known about the Anunnaki, whether he would have known about Syrian kings, where would he have got the information, what books he read would have had. I looked into everything. That's why it took a long, long time to do this video. But so on the surface, it's nothing special. The guy had his own library in England. There was books out that would have had pictures back then. But so on the surface, it looks like, oh well, that's the end of the video. It was kind of a waste of time, but it wasn't. There's another mural above that. So it's there's pictures above pictures in the museum, in the library. There's another one called Pagan Gods. And you know me, I scrutinised all the paintings he did, and there's loads of clues in that picture. So all the ones that people were sending me, with the Assyrian king going, oh look, it's an Anunnaki. I knew straight away it wasn't an Anunnaki, but I wanted to look into it anyway. But it's the Pagan Gods one. Now I'm just going to leave so the video drops in about 4 or 5 days. On Patreon, it's only a couple of pounds on Patreon, and you get hundreds and probably 1,000 plus videos now. Anyway, I'm just going to leave you with one thing. So it's called Pagan Gods. This long thin mural, and it's got lots of things on it, but it's called Pagan Gods. And guess what? It's about the Egyptian gods. Hang on. In ancient times, the Egyptians weren't ever called pagan gods. Dun dun dun. So there's a discrepancy straight away there. So, so I'm not going to spoil it because it's, I spent a freaking long time sorting this one out. So you're going to love that video if you're interested in someone knowing more than he should have done. Yeah, I want to talk. I want to tell you about it, but I can't because there's stuff in it that is yeah. The guy knew stuff. That's all I'm going to say. He was probably a Mason. I couldn't find any evidence that he was a Mason, but he knew stuff that I know, and without sounding rude, probably no one's ever caught on to the stuff that he's painted. So unless you're a Mason, so I think. Yeah, have a look at the video. Have a look at the thing. It's beautiful. If you know anything, I can't. I want to talk to you about it. I do, but I can't. I can't. All right, well, I'm going to tell you one more little secret in it. I can't. Why am I doing this? There's a female figure in the pagan gods, which is supposed to be Egyptian, but it's not. And she's standing on something. Yeah, you guessed it. You guessed it. And we've got statues of Aphrodite standing on something. We've got statues of Ishtar standing on something. In other words, it's their pose. They all had poses. All the Anunnaki had poses. And we've got Inanna standing on something. We've got Kali, the Indian goddess, which were all the same. So you're gonna love that video. I'm good. I know. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I'm just so proud of it. UFO Annie's wrote, yes, the star specifically. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? That's a really weird shape to have as a UFO. Really weird shape, but I couldn't get my head around why why it would be that. Yeah, Salvatore's wrote, Enki was playing with DNA, creating creatures. Did he have a purpose, or was just trying his limits? That's another really good question, Salvatore. So go number one in the class for that. Now, the question is, was there hybrids on their own planet? Now, if we believe the Moorhen translations where they say that they had Anunnaki with four, like horses basically, four legs, looking after the animals on their home planet. If we believe that, and so far I've got probably 80% of other tablets that back up the Moorhen. So I believe it. I believe whatever they've written. There's no, 80%. The chances that, that they made up stuff and that I've found in other tablets is just ridiculous. Plus, they say that the tablets belong to the Rothschilds, and of course the Rothschilds could come out and say, slander and all that kind of stuff. Stop your publication of the book. You're lying. Nothing to do with us. And we know the Rothschilds own museums and have owns their own libraries of antiquities. So we know they have tablets. So, in fact, some of their family work in the same place where these tablets are now supposedly held. So anyway, so go back to your question, which is a really good question. So if they were already tinkering with livestock, anything live with genetics, if they were already doing that on their home planet, were they doing it to enhance their race? Because really, that's the only benefit you would have, especially if you was royalty. If it was Enki that's already genetically modifying creatures, he's already, all right, he's never going to be king, but he's way up there. He's sort of third in line, so to speak. Not obviously, Ninurta was, but you know what I'm saying. He's right up there. So would he have done that for any other reason other than to progress military or their own species? I can't think of any other reasons why they would do it other than just like Jurassic Park. They didn't stop to think. They was too busy doing it to stop to think whether or not they should do it. So the question then is, did they have a purpose, or were they just trying his limits? On Earth, I would say he was trying his limits. I mean, we've got the tablet from Berossus, which literally tells us that he had half man, half horse. He had half dog, half this, half that. So the mythological creatures that the real creatures that we know of in the Greek stories, which we know come from Sumerians, because we've got the carvings and tablets, etc. Prior to the Greeks even talking about them, they were clearly done as experiments, clearly done as some way of working out what worked best. So there's you don't put. I mean, some of these creatures were chimeras. Some of them had like 3 or 4 different body parts to them. So there's no benefit in having a creature like that, because it's never going to breed. They're probably never going to live past a young age and die anyway. When you have that amount of messed up DNA in it. So yeah, I would say probably on his own planet he was doing it for strategic reasons. Here on Earth he was doing it for the fun of it and seeing what he could make out of it. And then obviously when they needed humans, that's when he said, right, okay, let's concentrate and do a proper one. And that's, I say proper one, and then we end up with us. So yeah, it's a really good question. Yeah, thank you. That's my take on it. Obviously, they haven't wrote down why they did it, but that's my take on it. Jensen's wrote, did the Anunnaki introduce the soul energy into humans at conception, or was it something else? Please. So they killed one of their own. They slain one of their own, and they chopped his head off to allow the ghost or the spirit of that dead Anunnaki to join with the first Homo sapien. The only thing I can think is it's the orb. Now, the more I've looked into the orb recently, the more I believe the Anunnaki had the ability to capture it. I do genuinely believe this, especially to do with the Bible. When you read my Bible rewritten, you'll say, okay, I understand now why the Holy Trinity is. Yeah, you'll get it. You'll understand. So the Anunnaki were aware of them, but couldn't talk to these orbs until after the Great Flood. There's no way they could have talked to them before. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had the Book of the Dead and the Emerald Tablets, etc. And the mummification. We would have been doing that tens of thousands of years ago in every country, not just Egypt. We would have had it everywhere. So, going back to your question, did the Anunnaki introduce a soul? Yes, they did. It's in the Atrahasis. It tells us that. Now, why we needed one is another matter. Life, I wouldn't have thought needed a entity to join with it to be alive. So the only thing I can think of at the moment is that it's. I'm going to spoil it now. You're going to make me tell you something out of the Bible book that I've just finished. The Bible rewritten. Oh, how do I do this without... Because the book ain't out yet, and I normally try and keep things secret until the book comes out. I'm just going to say a little bit. It's to do with wisdom, which is exactly what the Emerald Tablets talk about. So, in order to give this first Homo sapien life, they needed to give it wisdom. Not necessarily to give it life, but to give it intelligence of some description, understanding. They believed that they needed to give it wisdom, and to do that, they gave it an orb, which is a entity that goes around from person to person to person to person when they die, and it learns. So I don't want to spoil the book for you, because, like I say, there's stuff in the Bible rewritten that I've never mentioned before. And it's backed up by the Bible, so it kind of works. A good, brilliant question. Go number 2 in the class for that. Sorry if I keep holding back. It's just obviously ain't out yet. Jazz has wrote, "Hi Aldridge, I hope you're well. Good to see you live." Oh, thank you, Jazz. Thank you. Good to see you too. Scrolling down, Salvatore wrote, "Do you think the Greys research the planets before they visit them, or just visit them?" Another interesting question. Go number 3 in the class. I like that one. Logically, we send probes. Now the question is, if we had, so if we look at it from a logical point of view, we would send a probe to Mars because we can't reach it and it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to get to Mars. But if we had technology to get to Mars within an hour or so, would we send a probe there first? In other words, would we bother sending a probe if we could just go there ourselves? And so if we look at that from the aliens' point of view, if they've already got to the point where they can leave their solar system and traverse to another solar system, if they've already done that, what benefit is it there for them to send a probe when they could just send a scout ship with aliens in it over and learn probably a little bit more than what the probe would tell them? So the logic for me is, at the beginning, probably where they were struggling to get to another planet, they would have probably used probes. That makes sense. We would. But once you've got to a point where your craft is as quick as the probe in the first place, and you're probably going to be safe because you're warping time and space, possibly, then you might as well just go there yourself, unless it's such a long journey. So, for example, the Zetas. Thank you, whoever's doing the hearts. The Zetas apparently takes a long time still to get here because it's in the Zeta Reticuli star system. So it still takes, even with anti-gravity, still takes a long time. Now, I've heard that they open up a wormhole. They speed up, open up a wormhole, go through the wormhole, and then it takes them a month or two just to slow down once they come out the other side of the wormhole. So if you look at it from that perspective, then you could say, well, logic says send a probe first, because if they're stuck here in the other solar system, then they have no idea what's there. There could be aliens that's more advanced than them and aggressive ones. So I guess it depends on how far away you are from what it is you're looking at. So if it's a hop, skip, and a jump, a day or two's travel, then probably go there yourself. If it's a year's travel or 6 months where you might need to have some sort of backup or something like that, then logically send a probe. That's my guessing on it. I don't know for sure, but that's just my musing on it. Shay has wrote, "Just finished your book, Almighty God, Book 1. Reading Book 2, full of great research." Oh, thank you, Shay. Thank you. So anyone I didn't put Shay up to this, honest. That is lovely to hear that you're interested enough to even read the Book 2 of that. So that's fantastic. Thank you. To anyone that's wondering what I'm on about by books, I have got books. If you just go to my website, click on my profile, go to the links page. You can go to the videos page, or you can go to the links page. Links page tells you all about the books and where to get them, etc. Thank you, Shay. I'm so pleased you're enjoying it. Well, I guess you're enjoying it because reading Book 2. I probably would have gave up on Book 1. Jensen's wrote, "Thank you. So did the orb seed, or was there an abundance of energy from one beheading? Wisdom equals orb." From what I can assume, it would just be one, which is weird because obviously if you've only got one, then what do you do with Eve? Obviously it wasn't Eve, it was Tai, but what do you do with the female that you need to procreate with? Then that brings into question about the soul group, which I've done a video on. So I do believe that the orbs are part of a collective of a bigger group, which is part of a bigger, part of everything, all the other orbs. So I think I've worked out about 6. I might be wrong, but that's what I've worked out, that I've over the years. There's about 6 that I've sort of counted that belong to the one bigger orb, whatever. I don't know how you would describe it, but and then that one orb splits into 6 and goes into different people. So is it possible that the Anunnaki had a bigger orb that could split into 6? I don't know. And once an orb is joined with a person, you're right in saying if the Anunnaki put the orb inside the person, because there's no other reason to cut off someone's head. There is no reason whatsoever. And they do tell us that they put the ghost in the person, so which is a spirit, which is the orb. So once someone's got the orb in them, in other words, once an orb has settled in to this child, when they recreated, because we assume that the first female was done, 2 minutes after the first male was born. For all we know, it could have been a year later, 2 years later. They could have waited till the baby grew up till 5 years old to make sure that the first Homo sapien that was able-bodied didn't die, because they'd already created technically 7 fouled ones prior to that. 6 from Nimna and 1 from Enki, or is it the other way around? Forgive me. But yeah, so could, once the orb has settled in, could other orbs go, oh, I know, that's great, I'll join with these humans, because obviously it's all to do with the pineal gland. So did they need to do the orb in order to make sure that the person had a pineal gland and would take it before? So lots of questions that can't really answer, but it's a lot of thought, and it's a good question. Thank you, Jensen. So unfortunately I can't answer 100%, but brilliant question. Go number 3 in the class for that. Thank you. Salvatore's wrote, when someone dies and takes control of the light being, can we enter another body and live that life? That's another excellent question. Go number 1 in the class for that. I've never heard that happen. No one's ever said that they've, because technically that would be possession. That would be you being possessed by another spirit. Now, from my research, I believe it's jinn that possess people, not the light energy beings, the orbs. And there's lots of reasons for that, because I have done video on why, but lots of reasons. One being when people are possessed, they seem to talk a dead language, which obviously, if you're an orb and you've been going around and around, you will probably have a language that's more modern. So if you go with Dr. Ian Stevenson's research at Virginia University, where he's looked into past life regressions, the lives out of the 1,250 that were undebunkable out of the research that he's done, they're only 50 years to about 2 years.
WhatsApp. Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
50 years to about 2 years prior to the orb joining with someone. That's not to say that every single orb does that, but it doesn't seem to be a dead language like the Sumerian language or old Babylonian language or things like that that's now dead. So it does seem that the jinn, because obviously if they're not continuously joining with people, that's my logic, if they're not continuously joining with people because the light energy beings are, then the jinn, when they try and take over, they're the ones that's causing the person, the possessed person, to go a bit mental, because obviously they've got 2 orbs or possibly one that's not used to being with someone, and that's when they end up talking a dead language, which makes sense to me. So going back to your question, when someone dies, can we inherit another body? I wouldn't have said so, no. Everything that I've read, learned from past life regressions, from hypnogregressions, from spiritualists, mediums, and everything, I've never ever heard that. So it's a fair question, it's a really good question, but I've never heard anyone saying that they died and it was someone else and joined with them or anything like that at all. That's not to say they haven't, but I've never heard it. So I would probably say no, because the whole point of this is supposedly for the orbs to learn, and obviously if another one jumps in while someone's there are cases of what they call walk-ins or near-death experiences where the orb leaves and a different orb jumps in, that happens. That's happened a lot. Lots of people have that. And that's when suddenly they can now talk a different language, play a piano, a modern language, play a piano, paint, which they couldn't do before. They basically accessing the new orb that's jumped in when the old one's left for whatever reason, whether it was a near-death experience or a walk-in, and they can do things that they couldn't do before, because obviously you're now tapping in as an adult straight into this new orb, which has got a previous life to it, probably more than one, and you're now accessing that. It's like basically sticking a hard drive in, you're accessing it. So that happens a lot, but not the other way around. So it's a good question. Not that I've heard of. Nibiru wrote, the probe wouldn't get through the atmosphere without burning up, hence they launched from Earth. Obviously, it depends on whether it's anti-gravity or not. If it's anti-gravity, then if we look at the way that Bob Lazar, etc., tells us that the field around it just basically distorts gravity around it, so you end up with, so you can't fire bullets. That's what happened with the Battle of LA. You can't fire bullets at the craft. It just doesn't affect it because it's distorted the space time. So there's no. So that's the reason why these UFOs can go inside the ocean, can go inside out of the atmosphere into space, because they're not bound by the constraints of wherever they are, because they've created their own gravity bubble inside the craft. So they can, if an alien wanted to send a probe to Earth from their own planet, they would use anti-gravity, which would come through our atmosphere like as if it wasn't even there. Salvatore's wrote, would you know what kind of tech Marduk would have now to play with or use daily? I still wonder whether Marduk's in control. I really do now. But let's assume he still is in control. What kind of tech would he have? Especially during the Bible book, I do believe the Anunnaki met another alien race here after the Great Flood. 100%, I believe that. There's too much in there for it. I mean, even the Norse stories talk about them using dwarfs to create weapons for them. There's no way our human dwarfs would have better knowledge than the Anunnaki to create them even though we did have dwarves back then. So obviously it was the little greys of some type, whatever type it was. And we do have evidence again of mummies that were here for at least 10,000 years, which would have been after the Great Flood. So they I think they've dealt with an alien race, another type. I don't know which type. It could be the tridactyl one, it could be the six-fingered one, it could be the one-foot one that we have found over in Mexico, etc. The mummies. So whatever type is, and I'm 100% sure that Marduk had created the elongated skulled people, including Jesus. He had to have been an elongated skull, especially finishing that Bible book. He had to have been elongated, because there's other people. He created another one prior, John, I think his name was. But he wasn't elongated. He wasn't special. So it's definitely, in my opinion, he would have had an elongated skull. Sorry. So what tech would they have? Well, if they did deal with another alien race, that I believe the alien races that are visited here are far superior than the Anunnaki. Far superior, because the ones that come here could quite easily have grabbed all the asteroids and took them back home, no problem at all. Anunnaki couldn't do that. They apparently lost ships and had to come here and physically mine, because they didn't have the technologies to be able to mine and not destroy the gold in the process. That's a key thing, by the way. That's something I've put in my movie of the Anunnaki, that they could use, laser weapons, sure, but it would probably have destroyed the gold in some way, changed its composition or something like that. So what type of tech? Well, it depends on what deals they did with the aliens. Obviously, the aliens, they're not daft. They're not just going to give someone something for nothing. So it depends on what deals they did. I do think the Anunnaki, after 10,000 years of dealing with them, probably have got anti-gravity craft now. It'd be stupid if they didn't. And we know they didn't have anti-gravity craft because they had craft that could probably hover and stuff like that. It's just the sound. We knew from all the descriptions, from the Indians to ancient India to the Bible, the sound of the craft coming. And the fire, the chariots of fire, which had fire coming out the back and stuff like that. So we know that they had a propulsion system compared to anti-gravity. So I certainly think they would have now anti-gravity to get back to their home planet in a day or so. I know you think, well, hang on a minute, why can't it be instantaneous? I don't know how fast these things go. If we believe Admiral Byrd when he says that an object, a food fighter, a UFO, can go from pole to pole in minutes, that's still minutes. That's still not instantaneous. So if pole to pole, and that's, what's that, 12,000 miles, give or take, on the circumference, half of it obviously not going all the way around, and it takes minutes, then you can extrapolate, depending on where their planet is, that it might take a few hours to get to their planet. Certainly a good few hours if it's out by past Pluto. So it makes sense for them to do whatever they can to get anti-gravity technology. And they obviously had craft in space. Again, read the Bible. It's all over the place with craft in space. So that's the first thing they would definitely have. Weapons, I doubt if the aliens would allow them to have more weapons. That would be stupid. Looking at, if I was a grey alien and saw what they'd created, which is us, I would be like, yeah, you're not getting weapons. I've seen what you do. Salvatore wrote, do you think the Anunnaki Enki knew the Greys could travel time? So would they have tried it? That's a really tricky one. It's a brilliant, absolutely fantastic question. Go number one in the class again for that. Bloody hell, Salvatore. You save them up, don't you? I know you do. Excellent. The logic for me is, obviously, from the Anunnaki's point of view, hey, it would be great to go back and save our planet without all this, but they've already done that unless there's an issue with their planet now. But if there's still an issue with their planet and they found out that the aliens had the ability to go back in time, logic would say, hang on a minute, look, we really need to save our planet. Can you help us with the technology? From the other aliens' point of view is, oh crap, they go back. How far are they going to go back? They could go back to before our planet was, before we had the technology to create UFO time travel, and they could wipe us out. And they could take over the whole solar system. So I probably wouldn't, if it was me, I wouldn't give out it's the same as, look at America and Iran, etc., where they're on about nuclear weapons. America's saying, don't let them have nuclear weapons because they don't trust them. But then the argument is, well, who trusts the Americans? Why should the American? What made them more trustworthy than another country? Why is there only a certain amount of countries allowed to have nuclear weapons? What gives them the right to dictate who has the weapons? Now, I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying what made them think that they're never going to use their weapons in anger, but they believe someone else will. Now, obviously, they've got reasons why they believe that, but the point is, an alien grey having the time travel technology, I wouldn't let anyone have that unless you knew, that they somehow weren't going to abuse it. And knowing the Anunnaki, they might abuse it. I mean, look what they've done to us. They flooded us just to wipe us out and stuff, and they created us in the first place. Angie's wrote, who was Solomon? So there's, let me just, so I'm trying to remember which one it is. So there's the King Solomon, and then you've got the other one that was Plato's friend, which was very similar to the word Solomon. So I'm not sure if that's, so I'm guessing you mean King Solomon. So he was a king. He wasn't an Anunnaki, anything like that. And I think his father, don't quote me, I'm trying to remember. I think his father was King David, if I'm not mistaken. And Solomon, if I remember correctly, trying to remember everything here, if I remember correctly, he was the one that was tasked with building the building on the old Temple Mount type place, which housed the Ark of the Covenant, if I remember correctly. And then someone else, or well, he, I think, in fact, I think the story goes that he owned basically it was the landing pad where the Anunnakis would land, massive blocks, solid blocks, and then someone was, I can't remember who it was, I don't know if it was Solomon, but someone was told by Marduk, look after this Ark of the Covenant, and tell Solomon, I think it's this way, tell Solomon that you're allowed to build or you want to build a temple on the landing pad. And so he went to Solomon and said, "Can I build a thing?" God said, or Lord said, "You'll see in the Bible rewritten how bad the how bad the Bible is at changing things." And so Solomon said, "Okay, I think they exchanged some money, if I remember correctly. I might be getting it slightly mixed up. Is that the person you was referring to?" But yeah, he was just a normal. Well, when I say normal king, obviously all the kings back then were descendant of the Anunnaki, not necessarily demigods all the time. Sometimes they were children of the demigod, off of another descendant, off another descendant. They kept the bloodline as pure as they could, which is what the Anunnaki did, and the royals even still tried to this day to do, but they don't seem to do it as well as they did back then. Dioramas wrote, so are orbs genderless by way of psyche qualities? I can't answer. It's a brilliant question. Go number 2 in the class. That's a brilliant question. I can't answer that because I don't know the answer to it. I would guess if they're just pure energy, which most people agree now that they're plasma, and plasma can, under certain circumstances, be alive, believe it or not. If you look it up, you can see that mainstream do think that plasma has the ability to actually be sentient and alive. The storage capacity is huge on plasma. It blew my mind. I thought crystals were big. Crystals you can store petabytes on, but plasma, humongous amount of data if you was using it in that way. So obviously, if you're looking at it from an orb that's learning, if plasma can store information, which apparently it can, and could be alive, then that makes a lot of sense that these are entities that are alive. Now, whether or not they're genderless, obviously, if it's just energy, which it does seem to be, would energy have gender? Logic says no to me, but I might be wrong. But that's my gut feeling is no, they're not. They don't have a gender. How they procreate, I don't know. I have looked into orbs. There's a place over in America where was it? I think it's America. Was it Germany? I can't remember. I did do a video on it where scientists. You can look it up yourself. In fact, where scientists are studying these orbs that suddenly appear in this particular area, and they're assuming that these orbs are being born or created in that particular area. That's a fair assumption, but it could be many reasons. It could be that they blink in and out, and therefore go there to recharge, because it does seem to have some energy, electromagnetic energy in that particular area, so they could be going there to recharge. But of course, that then means they're not suddenly appearing and being created, or they may be created in that area and then blinking out and going off somewhere else anyway. So there is studies into this, which is quite, blew my mind, the fact that people were actually studying orbs seriously and actually found a place where they can continuously look at them. Which, if you talk to people and they say, oh, there's no such thing as orbs, we've actually got scientists with scientific equipment at this location. You look it up, I can't remember where it was, that actually are studying this. So it's not me making up the old orbs or the old pictures where we see orbs and videos where we see orbs. Oh, it's all made up. It's all made up. There's it's almost like a control. When you do experiments, you need to be able to replicate it. And they can, because this place has got full of orbs, keep appearing and disappearing. So definitely they're around. So how they procreate, if they even procreate, if it's, does it get too big and then, like, imagine blowing a bubble, a soap bubble or something like that. Sometimes a smaller one just drops out of it as you're blowing it up, and then you end up with two bubbles. So is it that the case that once an orb gets big enough, because they do get bigger. I mean, the ones that create the crop circles are bigger than the ones that join with the people. So do they split off once they get to a certain size, and then is that classed as a baby? I don't know. It's a fair question, Diorama. Excellent question, but I can't answer it because I don't know, and I don't think we even know enough about orbs to be able to say whether they've got gender. But I don't think they would have a gender, personally. Salvatore's wrote, would Marduk speak multiple languages or has tech to understand it now around the world? It's a fair question. Obviously, when you look at Latin, now supposedly Latin came about prior to the Vatican. But only see, this is the thing I don't like about mainstream, and I did argue this point. So mainstream say, there's documentation that Latin was written prior to the Vatican. So you say, okay, well, fine. Now, if you watch my documentary on who built the Vatican, it would have been Constantine on behalf of Marduk. So he was told to build it, which makes sense, and that's when the pantheon sort of stopped and get amalgamated into, the Roman, Greco-Roman got amalgamated into sort of the Christian side. So mainstream say that Latin was before the Vatican. My argument is you've got Marduk. Clearly it's Marduk's Vatican, 23-foot doors. They have all the ancient stuff in and vaults and all. This is Marduk's. There's no way around it. It's Marduk's. The freaking Vatican symbol is the same as the what they call the winged disc, which is the planet Nibiru's home planet symbol, which is the same as the dollar bill eagle. You'll see it; they're all the same. So the question: would he speak multiple languages? Well, why would Marduk go over there and make the Vatican speak a tiny little bit of language that only a very small population in that area was speaking? Now you could say, well, that's because they were the ones that was living there and built it. But is it not possible that Marduk went over there and created his new language, like he would have done with Egyptians when he was in charge as Ra, and created his own language, hoping that would, boot out the Catholic, which was Enlil's family, pantheon of gods, which makes sense. Now, the arguments that I have had with AI over whether or not the Latin, I think they're on shaky ground, really. They say, there's letters and stuff, and I was like, well, how do you know how old it is? Oh, well, it's because of carbon dating, etc. Yeah, but we know that's wrong. Yeah, that's true. We can't trust carbon dating. So why say it's older than the Vatican then? So I go around in circles on that. But yeah, so obviously Marduk would have had to have learnt Latin then, just so that he could have been in charge of the Vatican, which doesn't make sense for him to learn a tiny little language for a tiny little population when the rest of the particular country had a different language. Doesn't make sense. What makes sense to me is he went there and created his own language and hoped that would take off, and obviously it ended up being stuck in that sort of same area, Rome. That's the way it seems to me, personally, because when you look at where languages start from, it's the Anunnaki, Babylonian, Akkadian, Assyrian, you name it. It's all the Anunnaki teaching us these languages. Eventually, over time, obviously, you get different languages from that. But when you're talking back then, it would have been the Anunnaki. So for Rome to suddenly have people, think about it. Rome already got their own language, and then suddenly some people say, "Do you know what? Let's knock up a new language." Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's do that. For why? Don't know. Just be a bit of a giggle. And it doesn't make sense when we know the Anunnaki, when they went to these places, taught the languages. So the answer to your question, would Marduk know languages? Yes. Whether or not he bothered learning English, or whether or not he got his son to learn it. I did read his son died, Nabu, which would make sense really because you don't really hear of him. Where did I read that? I read it the other day and I was like, oh, I must store that. I'll look for that again. But yeah, he would know language. I mean, think about it. For him to learn a language would take, a very short amount of his time. And obviously, their brains. We don't know how intelligent they are. There is degrees of their intelligence. You got a cat that will just stare at the wall. You got a dog that will understand a little bit more, and then you got us that just about understands a bit more. And so, are the Anunnaki? Do they have total recall? We don't know. Do they have far better memories than us? Don't know. Do we have bad memories because of the Anunnaki? Don't know. So the chances are the Anunnaki probably do have better memories, in which case they could memorize a language a lot quicker and easier. And so I would say yes, he does know languages enough. If he's still in charge, languages enough to deal with American military. Let's be honest, that's who it's going to be, or American elites. Well, I wouldn't always say they're all American because some of the elites were obviously from the Anunnaki, that offspring that moved around and became kings and queens in different countries, Germany and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say all the elites are American, but a lot of them probably are. Fraser wrote, Sir, when in Anunnaki evolution do you think they became aware of their own light energy being? Oh, it's an interesting question. I don't know that really the answer to that question. What I can tell you is that when their planet arrived into our solar system, it would have been about 1 million of our years ago. Obviously, to them, having that cycle, 3,600 years, it works out. Our years is 4.5, 4.6 billion. To them, it works out to be about 1 million years. And they tell us, if you read, I can't remember which book it is, but one of the books, I go through the whole, every mention of the hammer bracelet, how they described the bracelet around the planet, etc. And so they, according to the Moorhen translations, they stringed the bracelet together to stop, in other words, stop the asteroids flying off and bashing into their planet and our planet and whatnot. And that was back when their planet came into our solar system, meaning they had space flight back then. So it's 1 million years ago for them. They had space flight. 4.6 billion years ago for us, but for them 1 million years. So they had space flight back then. So I don't know the answer to your question about when they would become aware of their own light energy orbs. All I was trying to do is show the technology that they had back then was enough to fly into space, which obviously we don't have ourselves. So I don't know whether they knew more then or less, but I was just trying to give you an example of their technology status back then to at least understand space. Obviously, orbs are slightly different, but they do talk about seeing spirits, and so maybe their eyes can see them. I mean, we've obviously got cameras, night vision cameras, pick up orbs, etc. And obviously, that thing that I was just talking about, scientists are filming them or whatever they're doing in that location, so you can see them. And so the Anunnaki in many of their texts talk about seeing spirits. So that means to me their eyes, which are probably different to our eyes, obviously, because we're offspring from them and humans, or Homo sapiens, that they genetically created. Their eyes, I mean, some of their eyes, I believe, might be red. There's descriptions of them with sort of flame eyes, which to me suggests red. Basically like albinos, where they have sort of red eyes. And so can they see a different spectrum to us? Totally possible. So I can't answer it. It's a good question, Fred. Go number 3 in the class, but I can't answer it because I don't have the answer, I'm afraid. Jansen's wrote, so orbs can act as parasites, almost determining character of human, maybe. Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. If you go to... Well done for catching on to that. Yeah. So if you go to Virginia University, or University of Virginia. I can never remember. There's 2 of them, believe it or not. They're both called that. One's called one way and the other's... Anyway, the one with Dr. Stevenson, he, he's done 1,250 odd cases that are undebunkable. And yes, the attributes of the last person seep through. Whether or not it's a fear of something, whatever the last person died of, fear of birds, fear of spiders, whatever it is, falling, whatever. Then there's the birthmarks that as you are born, you end up with a birthmark from where the traumatic experience from the previous life that the orb was with died on. And even facial features. They've got people now where you should have a look. It's fascinating. They've got photographs of people that have died because obviously, now that we've got photographs since the 1850s or whatever, we can look at the photographs of the person that died, and some of them are only 30 years ago. And now that the child's grown up, the one that with the orb that remembered the previous life from the other person that the orb was with, now that they're grown up, that institute went and followed their lives and took photographs of them at the same age that they are now to the person that died. And some of them look the same. It's like, oh, that's a bit uncanny. But they're nothing to do with each other. I know you could say, oh, well, it's their own orb, it's their own soul moving from one person to another. But that doesn't work because the person that moved to the new person doesn't get his own soul. It's the previous person's soul. And of course, you go all the way back to the very first person. Where does he get a soul from? So, he gets his own one. Well, what about his wife? Where does she get one? Oh, she gets one. What about their children? Okay, they get brand new ones. What about their children's children? Brand new ones, brand new souls. What about when the next one comes, the great-great-grandchild, but the very first man died? Oh, the great-great-grandchild gets the dad's orb. So that means that one doesn't get their own soul. See your point. It comes a cropper then. Comes a cropper. So, let's go back to your question. They are parasites. Yeah, in my opinion, they're parasites. In my opinion, I hate it. I dread the day I die, because if my thoughts are right, and I pray I'm wrong, if my thoughts are right, I'll die. If I've got an orb with me, I'm stuck with this freaking orb. I'll go forwards and backwards in time. I'll pop into a couple of girls' changing rooms, usual stuff that close to. But when the orb takes over, I am petrified that I'm still conscious. And that's why people hear voices in their head. I'm petrified that for the rest of eternity, I'm going to be shouting, no! Literally trapped like bloody Zod was in Superman 2. That's my fear, because I don't know whether these orbs, snuff out the consciousness of me when they take over, or whether my consciousness is in there with like another 1,000 odd consciousnesses stuck inside this orb going, hello, how are you? All right. How long you been here? 500 years for me, mate. That's my worry, because that's stolen my consciousness. And so that's why I say it's a parasite, as you say. And for the rest of my eternity, I'm petrified that I'm going to be stuck with numpties with this orb. I'm praying whoever's in there at the moment is listening to me. I hope you're like Einstein and smart people. And a couple of naked women in there wouldn't go amiss either. Sorry, no, I'm not a pervert. Just it does come across it though. Salvatore's right. Do you think the Greys abducted Anunnaki too, like humans, to create hybrid from that as well? I have thought that myself. It makes sense, because if you look at if we take the Project Serpal as gospel, and we believe the reports that come back from Serpo, the planet Serpo, where the 1312 one died on the way there, where they were there on their home planet, and all they were doing mainly was genetics, going to other planets, taking genetics, coming back and creating new creatures. Why wouldn't they take the Anunnaki? I mean, the Anunnaki are huge, one of the taller creatures out there. When you look at all the other species, the Nordics, the Pleiadians, even the praying mantis, the greys, you name it, the Anunnaki, if they're this height that I think they are, which is about 20 foot tall. I mean, Gilgamesh was 16.5 foot according to the tablet, so logic says that they were the 20 foot tall, and the doors are 23 foot tall in the ancient times that belong to those people, those Anunnaki. They're all tall doors with locks 15 foot high, which I couldn't reach. So the logic is that they were tall, and so if an alien like the Zetas came and saw this humongously tall species, would they somehow try and abduct one of them? Yeah, I think they would. Looking at the way they are with us, yeah, I think they would. Definitely, yeah. So it's a good question. Go number 2 in the class. Right? Wow, some great questions now. Angie's wrote, King Solomon had the power to summon jinn with his ring, dark energy. I've not read that, so I apologise. That's something that I've never looked into. I didn't know that. So thank you, Angie. Get a gold star for saying something that I wasn't aware of. I will try and remember. Let me see if you follow me. You do follow. Is there any chance that I'll follow you back? Is there any chance of sending me a message to remind me to look into that? I'd need to look into it deeply, because obviously the jinn technically were over in Asia first. It wasn't the whole Arabian Nights thing wasn't, Alibaba and all that, Aladdin. That was just basically a story. But the jinn were first mentioned over in Asia, so China. So I would like to see the actual translations of them and see whether or not it could be translated to something different, etc. I'm not aware of that. I didn't come across that, so my bad. But if you could let me know, remind me, that would be amazing. I will look into that. I wonder if I can copy your text. No, I was going to hopefully copy it and then. I should have a pen and a piece of paper here, shouldn't I? So apologies, but thank you. Get a gold star, though, for pointing out something that I didn't know. So I can't answer it, but one day I will if you let me know, and I will do a look into it, I guarantee you. Scrolling down, Cotswolds wrote, yeah, you've been too long. Keep missing the lives, evening all. I haven't done that many recently. I've been working on the Bible book. Anyone remember the word Bible bashers? Every time I say I've been doing the Bible book, feels like I'm doing a Bible bashing. It's not a Bible bashing book. It's nice. It's all right. I might laugh out loud once or twice in the book where something's really stupid and how people believe it. But other than that, it's not a Bible bashing book. The new one, when it comes out, I'll let everyone know. Michelle has wrote, I think the scattering of languages removing our telepathic abilities. Well, there's I don't know whether you know this, but there's translations from the Moorhens, George and Ryan Moorhen, father and son, who got 13 tablets from the Rothschilds, who owned them. They basically, back in the day, they sent people in and nabbed whatever they could from Iraq, Iran, etc., which is where the Anunnaki mainly were. And these translations talk about the Sky Tower, which is the Tower of Babel incident, and it's actually goes into quite some detail about how Marduk wanted to make his Sky Tower massive, and in fact, Irving Finkel and other historians have worked out what size that was. It was big. It was bigger than. So basically, the biggest one at that point would have been for King Anu, and it was a 7-step ziggurat. But Marduk over in Babylon wanted to build a bigger one because Marduk felt like he should be important. And so there was none of the bricks that they would normally, the blocks that they would normally use, like they did with the pyramids. So he had to get people to build bricks by making mud and putting them in the sun and heating them and kilning them and whatnot. So he did that, and he had to teach loads and loads of people because the size of the ziggurat that he was building, the Sky Tower, was humongous. I can't remember the exact size, something like three American football pitches long and wide, which is huge. You know, trying to do that with a little square brick, you're going to need a lot of people, a lot of people. And so he was building that, and he got quite high up, and then Ninurta found out, which he's Enlil's son, who Enlil was the main leader at the time, and obviously, and he hated Marduk, by the way, at that point. Ninurta did. In fact, so did Enlil, really. So Ninurta, in his craft, shot it down and broke it. So, you know, in other words, there you go, move on, forget it, Marduk, stop. And so that stopped Marduk. However, later on, Marduk decides to carry on rebuilding it. So he gets as many people as he can from everywhere to build this Sky Tower again. Enlil finds out and totally destroys it, which is why we only have historians believe they found the sort of rim of it with funny enough, baked bricks in Babylon. It's exactly where the Mohin say it is. And so Enlil destroyed it, Enlil being the Most High at that moment in time, destroyed it totally and didn't want people to chat and help again, because obviously Marduk got as many people as he could. So what Enlil done was divided these territories up, and that's why we got these marker stones. British Museum's got some classic ones, marker stones. It says if you go past here, you don't belong to this people, you know, whatever god it was. So each area had their own god. Marduk was Babylon, etc. If you go past here, you'll die. You'll get killed. Or other marker stones says slaves not allowed past this point, which is so it shows that there were slaves. Now, what colour slaves? Don't get me started, but they were slaves. So what Enlil did, according to the Mohin translations, is, and I've not read this elsewhere, but again, I found about 80% of the translations elsewhere, so I believe 110% that they're correct. So what Enlil, and Bible says it as well, so it pretty much says it. The Bible. So basically, what Enlil done was separated their languages and separated their ability to travel between one and the other places to stop Marduk getting people. Basically, Marduk could have built a whole army. In fact, that's actually how Marduk ended up becoming the Most High later on, where the weapons of terror was used. Marduk's people were spared, not deliberately, it was just accidentally. So the people that followed Marduk, they all were spared, and all the other people, humans, perished with the acid wind, which is radiation. Luckily, Marduk's people, and Enlil had already had a dream about all of this anyway, that Marduk was going to end up being the only one left. And so that's exactly what happened, according to the translations. Marduk ended up having his own people, and the other gods didn't really have many people left, so Marduk could wipe them out anyway if he wanted to. And so that's how it played out, which was quite interesting. So regarding the telepathic abilities, the Anunnaki never ever mentioned them having to. I mean, if they wanted to talk to someone, they actually literally had to go and walk to them. They had to walk through doors and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And there's no Sumerian tablets. When I say Sumerian, human Sumerian tablets that sort of give us any indication that we had the ability to telepathically communicate. That's not to say we can't. I do believe we have the ability using the orb, which is the same way that mediums get information passed to them through the orb that they're joined with, and then that orb passes the information through the pineal gland, which has got a transmitter and receiver on it, believe it or not, using this crystal. and so you can actually get information from the orb that way. So yes, I do believe under certain circumstances you can receive telepathic messages, even from obviously the alien greys that do give us telepathic messages. But I don't think we ever had that as an innate ability, or the Anunnaki. But thank you for suggesting that. If you're interested, definitely recommend reading the Moorhen translations. Zestes wrote, did the Anunnaki prepare our solar system, or did a previous group? No. So it's an interesting question. Thank you for that. So basically what happened is, if you read the Enuma Elish and the Bible, they both collaborate each other, believe it or not. So when their home planet came into our solar system, what was here already was loads of planets, but they do tell us how our solar system started. So they said there was Abzu and Mamu. Now Mamu, not sure what that is. It could be the water, because there was water here in our solar system. In fact, that's how the planets formed. In fact, even the Norse gods talk about. Don't ask me to pronounce the names, but they talk about the hot water and the cold water, or fire water, or whatever it is, that mingled. And so does the Bible talk about the waters that mingled. So basically, the Anunnaki told us that the sun was here when they first got here. There was other planets, but how they started was the sun, Mamu, then the sun and Mamu created Tiamat, which makes sense that it was probably water. Tiamat was the Norse frost giant. I'm the only one who worked that out. Yay me. Go watch my amazing videos on my website. And so it was a nice planet, but according to the Enuma Elish, it then gave birth. This is the Anunnaki spoke about these as deities, by the way. They believed that anything in space was living, or I don't know whether they believed it was living, but they described it as living. You know, like back in the day, back in the 80s and 70s, people would talk about their car and they'd say, "Oh, she's a beaut," or a boat, "She's a beaut." It's got great personality. That they talked about planets and celestial objects like that, and I say celestial, I'm on about comets, etc., as personalities. So Tiamat gave birth to Ansar and Lakhmu, which was Ansar. I might be getting Ansar wrong. I have done a family tree of the planets. Forgive me. I'm trying to remember. I do try and remember everything. Lakhmu was Mars, so she gave birth to Mars and Venus were the first ones. Then some of the other planets formed on their own from the waters, and then some of those had baby planets themselves. So we ended up with a lot of planets here. I can't say every single planet. They didn't name all the planets at that point. They named about 8, I think it was 8 or 9. Now, whether or not Pluto was one of them, whether or not Pluto was just part of Tiamat when it got smashed up, I don't know. But when they came into our solar system, there were already planets formed, and according to the Moorhens, their planet passed Jupiter, it passed Saturn, it passed Pluto. I think it passed Pluto. Well, they said the furthest one. So we assume, Zachariah Sitchin assumed it was Pluto, but it could have been another planet out there that may have long gone, or maybe the one next in on the line of planets. I can't remember what that one is. I was going to say Neptune, but I don't think it is. But forgive me if I can't remember my planets off the top of my head right now. So when it came in, it went past a few planets and ended up in between, hitting. Long story short, but it ends up it hits Tiamat, which is between Jupiter and Mars, and it smashes Tiamat up, which creates the asteroid belt, which is why there's not a planet there. And if you go by Bode's law, there should be a planet there. So mainstream, wait for it. Guess what mainstream say the asteroid belt is? The remnants of a fouled planet. Well, yeah, yeah. Fucking idiots. So they didn't prepare our solar system. They told us what happened, and of course the Bible talks about the waters mingling etc. But obviously the Bible mixes up day 1, day 2, day 3, and all that with the Anunnaki when they first come here, which is why I've rewritten the Bible, called a book that's not out yet, called OTH Bible Rewritten, and so it explains everything for people to understand nice and easy, so they don't have to ask me, hopefully, if they're interested in it. But thank you, Zesty, really good question. Go number 4. I don't normally give 4 positions out, but there's been so many good questions today. Scrolling down, Cotswold wrote, can you explain Catholics worship in the Pantheon and Roman Catholics being Christian? And then you wrote continued. Cotswolds, we're Catholics pre-Christians, and so from my perspective, you had the Catholics. This is right back at the beginning, not this anything else that's happened after. I'm talking about the very beginning. So you had the people that worship Enlil's Pantheon, which were Catholics. That's a fact. They were there. They had a building. It was a Pantheon building. I can't remember there's a location for it. You can look it up online. And so they had a building, the Enlil's family, that was there in Rome. And so people that followed them were called, or what we now know as, Catholics. Now, apparently, Christianity was before Marduk went over to Rome himself. And he only went over to Rome because Romans were coming into... If you watch my amazing documentary, you probably have, on why Jesus was born. But basically, Romans were coming in, encroaching over in the Middle East, and he didn't like that, so he went over himself. But before he did that, he created Jesus, which is why Jesus was created to go and be the king, and didn't end up being the king. He was a pacifist. So that kind of backfired on Marduk, so he had no choice but to go over. So there were people that was already following Marduk that went over to Rome that we would know as Christians. So basically, anyone that followed Marduk was Christian. Anyone that followed the Pantheon was Catholic. That's right at the beginning, none of this other stuff that's followed on since. And of course, once Marduk went over and said, hey, build me a building, I'm the Most High, because he was given the Most High about 3,000, give or take, 3,000 BC. So he was already the Most High, and basically what happened is, because he was still in the Middle East, dealing with people like Solomon, etc. Because he was in the Middle East, he didn't bother going over and seeing what was happening elsewhere. And then suddenly you got these Roman people coming into Israel, etc. And he's like, hang on a minute, this isn't right. And Herod, King Herod, was appointed by the Romans, which normally you have a king that's appointed by the Anunnaki. So that's not good. So that's why he created Jesus to be a king. So that's why he gave him the intelligence of the other alien species, which is why he probably had an elongated skull. But he didn't fulfill that prophecy or destiny that he was created for. And so Marduk had no choice but to go over, and probably had words with the Enlil's family and said, look, your guys or people from here are coming over attacking me. And they probably said, sorry, what do you want us to do about it? And so Marduk says, right, I know what, I'm going to create a building here, which would have been the Vatican. And so he created that, and the people that followed him from, or knew of him as Christians from way back, carried on being Christians, following him there. That's the way I see it, and it does make a lot of sense. Everything matches, time frames match, everything matches perfectly. And then obviously later on you can start getting sort of slightly different Catholics and the different stories. And of course we know the Bible's changed over the years terribly. So, but that's the crux of how I see it, and it does fit really well. Let me talk as wrote what you want about. This person doesn't follow me. What are you on about? What? He wrote something underneath, so I'm going to read the next thing. Where is your evidence? What particular bit would you like evidence for, sir? Are you still here? He's probably not. He's probably done a runner. He's probably now listened. So he probably joined at this moment in time and thought, what's he on about? What's your evidence? Then he probably carried on listening and thought, hang on a minute, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he's pointing to evidence where he's got evidence. And when he hasn't got evidence, he says, this is my thoughts and my beliefs, etc. And now this numpty, this let me talk person is thinking, oh crap, I've probably bitten off more than I should chew now listening to this guy who's clearly not not daft, is probably going to destroy me. So I'm going to disappear. So I bet let me talk disappeared. Let me talk, and then wrote, you can see spirits. You can't. I didn't say I could see spirits. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is what makes someone a numpty when they don't listen. I didn't say I could see spirits. I said you can film spirits with orbs and with cameras. And I said it's possible the Anunnaki could see the spirits. I said they saw them. Oh dear, someone's not got a brain. It's not your fault. You are talking to someone highly intelligent. Only when it comes to this stuff. I cannot speak another language. There's lots of things I can't talk about. Let me talk, then wrote, you talking about animals? So he didn't even know what I was talking about. So this person, let's call him an umpty, comes into a chat, didn't even wait to find out what I'm talking about, starts talking, and then's like, hang on a minute, are you talking about animals? I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, then shut up. Don't start with the what you on about, and then say, I don't understand what you're talking about. Just shut up, listen, and then ask nicely. Oh, I don't know how to ask nicely. What you would have done is just said, sorry, what's he referring to? He's probably behind on the messages because he sounds like he's talking a lot about one particular message. So he's probably, if you use your brain, obviously you haven't, but that's what I would have done. I would have went into a chat and listened and thought, hang on a minute, this guy's talking a lot from one question. Maybe he's behind on the messages. So I'll just listen and pay attention. But clearly you didn't do that. It's not your fault that you was dropped as a child 6 times by your mother and sadly 5 times by your father, and I won't even mention your grandfather. Nicole's right. Do you think there are any Anunnaki human hybrids working in working in government today? And those are ones that report back to the Anunnaki or current affairs. So, do you think there are any Anunnaki human hybrids? Technically, we're all human Anunnaki hybrids. Do you mean demigods? So in other words, the direct offspring of an Anunnaki and a human. The problem there is their lifespan is way longer. So anyone that we're talking at least 1,000 years. So anyone that is working in the government that is a genuine demigod hybrid, offspring of an Anunnaki and a human, they would probably not last more than 10 years before someone says to them, oh, you look very good for your age. So I'm not saying that they don't, because obviously, governments do switch around and different people come in and out, etc. So I can't say no, but they would have to hide, because if someone's got footage of them from, the 1980s, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and now, and they look exactly the same as they still do now, then that would be a problem, because obviously the government wouldn't want us to know about the Anunnaki. So I would probably, from logic, I would say I doubt it. I think I do believe there's a chain of command going from the government to the elites, and I do think there's someone else in between. And I think that's probably the demigods their children, that tell the Anunnaki themselves what's going on. That's the way I see it. But it's a good question. Thank you for asking. But yeah, I can't see the logic in them working in the government. I think it's just there is a hierarchy, but not actually. I don't think they need to work in there. Cotsworth wrote, could the beheaded sacrifice Anunnaki been for the pineal gland to give us orbs? You mean to take out the pineal gland, or or like we do with stem cells, etc. Would take out. So I'm just trying to think what you're thinking. Are you on about? So maybe they sliced open his head, took the crystal from the pineal gland or whatever, and then somehow implanted it into the baby. I mean, from the description of how that worked is they did that prior to the fetus. So the chances that they would have been able to take something and sort of inject it into the fetus, I'm not saying they couldn't, but I don't know. I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense, but I can't. Logic to me says no, they wouldn't have probably took. I'm guessing you're saying they took something physical from the brain, from the pineal gland, maybe fluid or something. I don't know. I can't say no. It's a fair question. I'm not a doctor, damn it, Jim, so I can't answer it. Maybe that's a question to ask doctors. Is there anything in the pineal gland that can be taken and used in another species? I don't know. It's an interesting question. Go on number 3 in the class. That's a very weird and interesting question. Nicole's wrote, or do you think Anunnaki have their own surveillance systems like satellites to monitor us? Now that's a fair question. sorry, Cotswolds. Go number 3, Nicole. That's a fair question. So I do believe they have. I do believe the Black Knight satellite was theirs. So I did read, and I did do a little TikTok video on it where I read out a translation where they said that he was going to put an eye in the sky to monitor. Words to that effect. So that makes sense that if they're putting an eye in the sky, I don't know how technical that device would have been, whether it could pick up, every single language that's being spoken at the same time, or whether it's just guarding the planet, or what. I don't know what it is. So they did use something. He did say that they put something in heaven, which is space, but more down to earth, I doubt it. I do believe they're over in Antarctica where there's no ice. The part where there's no ice makes a lot of sense. It was cordoned off, etc. So, do they have our TV there? To watch what's going on. The children might. In other words, demigods might. I'm not sure if the Anunnaki would bother with neighbours and TV programs like that, or whether they would even understand the jokes. But I can't imagine them. It's a fair question, but I can't imagine them having security cameras and stuff like that, and having feeds. When I say feeds, live feeds of what's going on, maybe in government or something, because they'd have to have it. Really, they'd have to have it in every single government. I can't see it, but I can understand why you asked that. But I think it's probably. I think the way it works from my perspective is that the American military are the ones that's running the show in terms of telling Russia, telling China, etc., to do with the aliens, to do with the Anunnaki. They're the ones that report back to the elites, who report back to, I think, the demigods, who report to the Anunnaki. And I think all of the countries around the world, or certainly most of the important countries around the world, are aware of. Sorry, I don't know who that is. Oh, my daughter's. All the important countries around the world are aware of the Anunnaki. All the leaders are. They have to be, otherwise, or certainly aliens. They have to be, otherwise they'll be trying to shoot them down every instant. So I think, that's part of the treaty that they have for Antarctica, which is why I say most of the important countries are part of that treaty for Antarctica. Jensen's wrote, wow, again, thank you. I can't remember what that was for. I'm slightly behind, but you're more than welcome. Time check, 8 p.m. Thank you very much, Jane, Goddess Jane. Salvatore's wrote, Greys are more advanced than the Anunnaki. Do we know who is more advanced than the Greys? That's an interesting question. So, what I heard, whether or not this is true, I heard that the praying mantises are the oldest physical beings Take that as you will. I don't know whether that's true or not. Whether or not old equates to more technology. I mean, the dinosaurs lived longer than us and didn't quite, learn to play Scrabble. So just because someone's old doesn't mean that they've got intelligence or so. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer. I mean, all it takes is someone to steal someone else's technology and back engineer it or learn how it works to then end up with that same technology. It's like what we do here. I mean, Apple brings out a device, and then before you know it, China's got a knockoff version of it, and so is that, they back engineer it or try and work out how it's built, and then they build an even cheaper one. So is it the same like that in space? I don't know, but that's what I would imagine. So a fair question. Cosmos, have you seen Resident Alien? I thought it was rather good. I did indeed. Yes, I was quite. I loved it really, but I was quite sad that they went with Corey Good's Blue Avions. I couldn't believe they did that because Corey Good's been admitted that he was lying. So why they had the Blue Avian in there? It was kind of brought it back down. I didn't unless they did it deliberately to sort of show, that they're not really trying to be serious. But I mean, they talked about the Anunnaki in a couple of episodes and stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was for what it was. It was fun. I did enjoy it. Yeah, I thought it got a bit. I'm kind of glad they ended it when they did. But other than that, yeah, it was good. Jensen's wrote, can we assume that after entering a wormhole, the Bigfoot underestimated the stopping distance? That's a very good question. Brilliant question. Go number 2 in the class. Excellent question. I don't know. It could be, yeah. So my belief from things I've heard, I believe that the spaceship crashed with the Bigfoots on it as a prison ship, and then their descendants carried on living here over the years, and of course it would have been before the land bridge, which means they would have crashed before the flood, so 10,000 odd years ago, or more, way more. I don't know. It seems from my research that, believe it or not, they crashed in China, and they got their tech, their fake iPhones, and then they moved on. So it does seem, and then they went to the Himalayas, Russia, and then they crossed the bridge to Canada and America. That's the way it seems from my research. I might be wrong, but that's the sort of oldest to newest accounts of them. Again, that's not everyone writes down everything, not everyone tells everyone everything. So, but that's the account that I've got. Obviously, they're hairy, so wherever they come from, logic would say that they were from a cold place. Now, obviously, they're in America, northwest, mainly. A lot of sightings there, but they do migrate. They apparently migrate along the railway lines. They walk along, following the railway lines to go to the next place. So, are they migrating because it's hot? Are they migrating for the food? Are they migrating because the animals migrate? Lots of interesting questions unanswered at this moment in time, but yeah, it's a really good point you brought up there. Scrolling down, Obey has wrote Tower of Babel. Yeah, that was what was originally called the Sky Tower, which makes sense because obviously Marduk was trying to reach the heavens, which is space, trying to get as high as he could, which is understandable. Snoopy's wrote, was the Tower of Babel taller than the tallest building in the world today? It never got finished, but if it was, it wouldn't have been that tall, no. So it was. So if you, there are dimensions online. Ivan Finkel, some other museums, etc., have got information on the square footage of the floor of it. So I mean, if you probably do the measurements yourself. So if it's a stepped pyramid, it depends on how high the steps are. If it was a normal pyramid, then you can work out the height of it. if it was just like a Giza pyramid type thing. But if it's a step pyramid, it kind of depends on how high the step part is before it then flattens out and then goes back up. So it's really difficult because I mean, it could be double the height of what we expect, or it could be a thin layer. And so I can't answer the height, but there are people out there that have measured it and assumed that they got the correct calculation based off of other ziggurats. I just can't remember the height of it, but it wouldn't be Burj Khalifa height or anything like that. It wouldn't be that tall. Obviously, the Great Pyramid was supposedly the tallest structure in the world for a long time. But there was apparently a pyramid in Italy that's buried over that's even bigger than the Great Pyramid. And in fact, if you watch my documentary, which tells you what the pyramids were for, which is brilliant, I think I found somewhere else that wasn't a pyramid that they actually still did the same design for. In other words, the same chemicals that come up, which created the microwave, which heated the planet, heated the atmosphere, and it's in Russia. I want to do a video on that actually. So it's I don't know if you know of it. I think it's called the Hokono. I can't remember the name of it. But basically, it's this mountain ridge that if you climb into it, you'll find that these rocks are actually cut. Mainstream sort of say, "Oh no, they're not cut. They're not." This just happens that both sides, plus other compartments, plus a main chamber at the bottom, they're all just luckily, marvelously, just happens to be smooth as a baby's bum. Yeah, right. And yet the other places that's also got holes where you can climb in, nothing like that whatsoever. So this particular place was up higher. So I think this was another one of the Anunnakis where they put the crystals and the chemicals, etc., to produce that microwave that comes up out the top. So I need to do a video on that. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Which would make sense because you need them all the way around the planet to heat up the planet, which is what my amazing documentary shows. Obeas wrote, "The Tower of Babel was the frequency people all worked together with." Not according to the ancient tablets. I would rather go with the tablets that tell us everything else that matches up. Sorry, I don't really sound rude. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's just because you don't follow me. So when people don't follow me, what I do is I ask for evidence. So where you've just given me a fact, so you wrote Tower of Babel was the frequency people all work together with. Could you show me the evidence of that, please? Now, when you realise, oh crap, I have none, I made that up, maybe just follow someone that actually knows what they're talking about. I don't know, just throwing that out there. I don't know if you're that way inclined, that you'd like to learn, or whether you just want to make stuff up. But let's be honest, you made that up. Or you heard some other numpty make that up when you didn't bother asking them for the evidence, and you just regurgitated something that has just been heard from some numpty, probably Bashar or someone like that. Yeah, we kind of go by evidence here if possible, and we have got the evidence for that from tablets and translations. And we've even got, as I say, Dr. Irvin Finkel, head curator of British Museum, has told us that he also believes Tower of Babel was a ziggurat and tells us where it is, and where the size is, what the size was based off of the bricks that was still at the bottom. The broken bricks, but you can still see the size of it. So I'd rather go with those things than just you making up something. Sorry, don't hate me. Michelle's wrote, or Michael, is it? I know someone with two L's, or I know someone with two L's, so I'm guessing it's the same spelling, pronunciation. The Greys do use telepathy. That's correct. Yeah, that's what I've heard over and over and over. Yeah, so they have the ability to do it, and obviously we can hear their thoughts. Whether or not they can hear ours, I have heard that they can hear ours. Now, do they have orbs themselves, or have they got other technologies that they can use for telepathy? I have heard that they have orbs. In fact, Linda Moulton tells us that 3 different alien races fight each other to nick their orbs. So that would explain the telepathy, which is what I was saying earlier, that orbs, having an orb which connects to the pineal gland, which is a transmitter and receiver in itself, makes sense that people can use telepathy, which is what I said. But obviously, as an innate ability, we don't have it, in my opinion. Michelle says, thanks, Moorhen of transportation spelling. Moorehen. Moorhen. Moorhen. I mean, easier to buy because their books are not on Amazon, which is sad. Easier to buy if you're interested. Easier to buy. It's not as in depth, but it gives you the overview. Easier to buy Zachariah Sitchin's book called Lost Book of Enki. I mean, you can buy George and Ryan's, but they're not from Amazon, so you have to go to a different source and try and find it. I can't remember the company's name, but so if you just want another version of it, go to Lost Book of Enki. Basically, that's nice and easy for you. Zesty's wrote, "Thank you. You're more than welcome." Jamal Ali has wrote, "Earth is not a planet." I bet this person doesn't follow me. Oh, you follow me. Damn. Okay, so Earth is not a planet. So the definition of a planet is something that circles the sun. So are you saying that we don't circle the sun? Is that where you're saying that it's not a planet? I'm guessing that's what it is. Otherwise, you'd be saying it's some sort of, I don't know, simulation or something. Which, as a follower of mine, you wouldn't say that because that would be silly to say that. You'd be embarrassed to say something in front of the almighty Outer History. Thank you, Shabazz. So I'm guessing you're saying Earth doesn't rotate around the planet. I'd be interested in seeing your evidence that we don't. Now, you could turn around and equally say, well, show me the evidence that Earth rotates around the planet, which is a very fair question. And I wouldn't be able to show you it because I don't have the evidence myself that Earth rotates around the planet. But I can believe that the solar system that we have does revolve around the sun. But I'd be interested in your... Jane has asked... I knew she would. Jane has asked, Jamal, please explain your comment. Dioramas wrote, you think it's possible they maintained the consciousness reincarnation ritual into a new vessel? I do. That's what I wrote in the Bible Rewritten book that's not out yet. Yeah, somehow I think the intelligence, whether or not, however you call that, whether it's wisdom, knowledge, whatever it is, was transferred to the very first Homo sapien that was able-bodied. I say able-bodied. The truth of the matter is they would have done it before they tried 7 times technically. So did they take the orb out of each of these people that were deformed, or was it you only did it once? Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to it, but they certainly did cut the guy's head off, and there's no other reason to cut his head off other than, as it says, to use the ghost of the person, which to me is a spirit. So yeah, it's a fair question, Diorama. I can't answer it, I'm afraid. We just don't have enough. Jamal's wrote, Earth is a realm, you can ask AI. Jamal, would you like to see me destroy AI? Over and over and over and over. Would you like to see that? Let me know. I'll go get my other phone and I'll destroy AI in front of your eyes, and then you'll go, oh, I'm never going to believe AI again. I'm going to listen to our true history forever and ever and ever. Well, thank you, Jamal. So yes, AI lies. So I've done videos already. If you're interested, go watch them, where I totally destroy AI. I can't believe people believe AI, and now I'm shocked that you believe AI. I mean, it's literally, oh, wow. And I bet. Let me ask you: was it what's that stupid one called? The one that's thicker than the other ones. What's its name? You're all shouting at the screen. I can't remember the bloody name. It's that stupid one that people use that comes out with all sorts of crap. Oh, I can't remember its name. Claude. I bet you used Claude, didn't you, Jamal? Oh, yes, I did. Yeah. Go use DeepSeek at least. That's probably the best one you'll find so far in terms of actually being sensible and not lying to you. Salvatore's right. Your speaking and knowledge spark my questions. I don't I don't have saved them. Thank you always. Oh well, Salvatore, your brain is amazing for coming up with the questions. Excellent questions tonight, as always. So I love people like you, where you can just hear something and try and work out the next thing, and that's what you do. I know you do. Been doing it for years with me, so fantastic. Jane has wrote to Jamal, AI is not reliable. Do you have any evidence to support your statement? Fair question. Alfie's wrote, such a great live. Thank you. Would love to see more of your lives here. Oh, thank you, Alfie. I do them, but TikTok's limited me to 40 people. I used to have hundreds, so I now don't do as many TikTok lives as I used to. Plus, I was finishing off a new book called OTH Bible Rewritten. That took some time. But I do also, another reason why I don't do all the lives is I'm working on an Anunnaki movie, which will be out at Christmas. And I also do deep dives into subjects that people's asked me to do deep dives into. Like the latest one is the Boston Public Library, the mural with what appears to be an Anunnaki, which is not. But so I do these deep dives. So yeah, basically I'm always busy, but when I do find 5 minutes, I do these lives. And I have got, if you're interested, I have got previous lives on YouTube, on Spotify, or any of those kind of podcast places. You can get to everything from my website if you're interested. So not only thousands of documentaries, but you can get to previous lives where I upload them, and you can just sit back and listen for 4, 5, 6 hours. As sometimes I do them with different questions. Sometimes it's not always about Anunnaki; it's about other things. So, some great lives we've had. Thank you, Alfie. It's very very nice of you to say so. Salvatore's right. I need to go. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, you're more than welcome, Salvatore. Excellent questions as always. Neil has wrote, "What's your IQ?" I don't like saying it, but I am in the 1%. Now you're going to say, "Oh, no, he's not." I am, but it's the logic based. It's logic, and I'm very good at logic. However, I can't, I can't tell you a different language. I can't tell you what foods are. If you show me a tangerine, I couldn't even tell you what it looked like. So my brain is geared to, for whatever reason, is just geared to lap up absolutely everything that I'm enjoying and totally disregard things that I have no knowledge or interest in whatsoever. So I have a high IQ, but it doesn't make me smarter than you guys. I can't play a musical instrument. I can't even freaking hum. I tried using AI the other day to try and do a little bit of music, and I was trying to go like, because on AI you can actually do a hum. You can hum it and it will play it back, and I can't even hum. So I'm not perfect. And then an IQ test, I did it with Mensa, and I was accepted into and I rejected it, but because I think it's stupid to say that I'm smarter than other people. I'm not. I'm good at logic, but I'm not smarter than other people by far. So I'm just telling you guys that now. I'm not. I was in special needs till I left school, so I'm thick. So I don't want people thinking, oh, he thinks he knows it all. I don't. UFO Annie's wrote numpty, my favourite word these days. Oh, thank you, Annie. Jamal's wrote to Jane, for the oldest source that says the Earth is a planet, you will understand. So unfortunately, what we've got here, don't hate me, Jamal, this is how I work, very logical, is where someone asks you for evidence, and what normally happens is when people don't have it, they'll say, go look for yourself, which basically means you don't have it, but you're trying to get away without. And that's unfortunately what you've done there. For the oldest source that says the Earth is a planet, you will understand. Let me think. Give me a second. I'm just trying to think if the Anunnaki ever mentioned us as a planet. They probably did. I've just obviously it didn't. I didn't probably think anything of it when I was reading it because I didn't think there was people out there that didn't think that we're a planet. So I'd be interested to look at that up. I'll tell you what. Let me go and look now. Just on one. Obviously, there's millions of Sumerian tablets, etc., and Akkadian tablets and whatnot. So I can't say what I'm going to do is 100% everything. I'm just going to have a quick look. Obviously, it's only depends on the translations as well. So I'm just going to have a look just for a bit of a giggle. Bear with everybody. I doubt if it'll come up because obviously it's. No, it didn't come up. Let me just try something else. Bear with. Sorry, guys. You know what I'm like. Sorry, my brain switches off when I concentrate on something. Okay, so I'll let you know in a second on the answer to that. Neil was wrote, I'm guessing 5. Oh, that was the where you was asking me what my IQ is. Well, unfortunately, you guessed wrong, Neil. Badly, completely opposite. So I'm guessing now, Neil, if you've got an issue with anything that I'm saying, instead of being a numpty, which clearly you are, I mean, look at your name, Neil Wally. Sorry, Wally. Sorry, I'm terrible at pronunciations. That's another reason why I'm not perfect. If you've got an issue, instead of just being rude, which everyone's now laughing at you because you was trying to make me look stupid and it doesn't quite work, you could have actually just said, you're wrong on XYZ. Like even poor old Jamal's trying, saying that that to Jane that we're not a planet, although he hasn't given any evidence. Yeah. So unfortunately, Neil Wally. Yeah. Jane has wrote back to Jamal. This is an evidence-based live, and there is evidence that the Earth is a planet. Jamal's wrote to Jane. Okay. So, so there is a thing called the Dandara Zodiac, which was in Egypt. It's now, I think, in the Louvre, which is basically showing the star systems. But also there was something in Egypt that has Earth and our other planets. Obviously, the Sumerians do as well, but it doesn't show that we go round that. But the Egyptian one does. I'll have to find all that out and do a little video on it. I didn't think anyone ever thought that we wasn't a planet. No Surrenders wrote, the things being dug up in Tula, Mexico, real or fact? Are you referring to the artifacts which look like sometimes alien grey skulls and all sorts of weird things? If that's what you're referring to, as opposed to the alien mummies, I have done videos on it. I've even spoke to some of the people that's got these artifacts at length. And they've kindly showed me them, etc. Now, there's a few problems with the artifacts coming out of Mexico. Sorry, 1 second. What? No, you've eaten tonight. I'll make you some. Have one. Take one out.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot. I hadn't fed him properly tonight. Just one, Clark. So yeah, there's a few problems with these artifacts. First of all, in my house, I don't think I've got any, other than maybe a couple of pictures, photographs. I don't have any carvings of humans. I've got a statue of Osiris, I think it is, from Egypt, when someone I knew went there and got it for me. But you see where I'm going with this? I don't have carvings. Now, if you went to a shop, IKEA or anywhere, DFS, Furniture Village, wherever shops you go to, the chances of you finding humanoid figures and our skulls, etc., is very small. I mean, it's minute in the big scheme of things. So the chances that an alien race that was trying to hide themselves create these carvings of themselves is very slim. I mean, so then you got to ask, well, is it people that had seen these aliens and decided to create them? Well, some of them are actually craft these, basically a saucer, a flying saucer, and you can take off the lid, and inside is a little alien, which then means these humans have seen these aliens and to be able to even know that they're inside these flying discs. So then you think, well, hang on a minute, is that real? It seems a bit. So you start narrowing down all the possibilities, and then you look at the style of them, which I did a little experiment using my carving, using my little statue here that I got given as a present from someone from Egypt, and I pretended that this was a secret artifact on a little TikTok video, and people fell for it because it's got the same style, look to the stone or whatever it is that they used to make it. So what I'm trying to say is, if you go to a gift shop in Egypt, you'll find the same looking, or it may not be more yellowy in Egypt, but you got the same looking style stone that's made. So then you got to ask yourself, well, hang on a minute. When people were digging, why are they not finding houses, humans? Why do they only seem to be finding alien stuff? Where's the chairs? Where's the table? Where's the spaceship? Where's anything? Now I have spoke to what, Clark?
I took the one time as you told me.
All right, no, you're not having that. That's mum's.
Milk?
That's your mum's. You have a tiny bit of milk.
I did.
Tiny.
I don't know.
Put that one back. Sorry, everybody. So long story short, you can get arrested and put in prison if you take out artifacts from Mexico. So when you add all of these things plus many more that I've written in my books or documentaries, the logic says probably not real. And the fact that they're selling them. Now, there are some interesting things. There are some interesting ones, what light up if you shine a certain type of torch on it, etc. But there are stone out there that are in the walls on these, in caves, etc., that you can shine a torch on it. It still does the same thing. So basically, they're probably using the same stone from these locations that give that light. What, Clark? No, put it back. He's trying to eat everything. Go and put it back. Sorry. I apologise for that, but you get the idea. It's when you narrow it down, it just seems implausible that an alien race would design or let people create carvings of them when we can't even find anything else to do with them. Any modern technology, just carvings. All the time they had here to make something, and it's just carvings. It's not a nice IKEA type desk, or what I mean. It's just so I struggle with it really. Cotswolds, have you looked into Jordan lead codices? Sounds like they are suppressing the information. I've not heard of Jordan lead codices. I've looked into codices before, but not Jordan lead or lead. If you could remind me in the background, I'll have a look into it for you. But I haven't looked into that particular codices. I've looked into codex, mainly Mesoamerican ones, but scrolling down, time check 8:30. Thank you very much. I'm still behind. Thank you, Jane, Goddess Jane. Scrolling down, Cotswolds, any thoughts on what the spherical rocks at the Bosnian pyramids were for? I need to do. You're going to hate me for this. I need to do a deep dive on that, because I watched someone did it about a year or so, I can't remember, probably 2 years now. I watched a video where someone went into the Bosnian pyramids, and they had a tour guide. Other people were there and everything, and this tour guide was taking them around. I was like, oh, that's cool, this is interesting, inside a pyramid, excellent. And then she pointed to this stone on the floor, and she says, oh, we don't know what this stone's for. And I knew exactly what it was for. I cannot remember now, but I remember thinking, oh, wow, I know exactly what that's for. And I remember thinking I must do a video, and I never did. I was driving at the time. That's why I didn't write it down or anything. I was kind of being naughty and kind of had that playing as I was driving. So normally I just listen, but when it said "What's this?" or they don't know what this is, I quickly looked down. I was at the traffic lights. I was parked up, and I was like, I know what that is. So yeah, I need to do a deep dive. I'll write that down now. I will write that down now. I'm in the other room now, Bosnian. Now it's going to take me forever to try and find that guy's video again. Thank you, Cotswolds. I'm afraid I can't answer it, but I will do a deep dive on that. Michelle's already read all of Sitchin's years ago. Oh, brilliant, excellent. So you're well clued up. Excellent. I don't know if you know, but I've got books out which, without sounding rude to Sitchin, and obviously it wasn't him. The translation's already done, as I prove in my books. But I do go further than what he's done. Again, not being big-headed or anything. I'm just saying that, you know, if he had the technology that we've got now, he probably would have gone further himself. So yeah, if you're interested, scrolling down, Dioramas wrote, super excited to read that new Bible now. Ah, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what people's going to make of it, because it's not full of facts, because it's not meant to be, because I've done other books and stuff. It was more just like the Bible talks about stuff and I talk about stuff, but I can't help it. I slip in facts here and there. I just can't help it. But it should give you an overview of what the Bible was really talking about and the different time frames that it keeps cocking up and stuff like that. Tucker's right. When the Anunnaki said the universe was created by thought, whose thought do you think they meant? No, they never said. I've never read them saying it. It was so the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. There's one translation where it says that the universe was created by thought. If that's what you're referring to, then my thoughts on that, this is just my thoughts, is that we're in a universe that was created by an Hadron Collider type, you know, the particle smasher that we've got, by another alien race, obviously not an alien race, but a race somewhere in another universe that smashed two particles together and created a mini universe, which is what we're in. That answers all the questions, really. It's like, what was before? Particles. Creator of everything, the guy that switched the machine on, and is it expanding? Because apparently our universe is expanding. Well, yeah, it would be, because it was smashed inside a Hadron Collider, which is when we've tried it with our own God particle, trying a very similar type of thing. It did expand all but for 0.0000 something seconds. But it did. So everything matches perfectly the answer to how our universe got started. Now, you're going to ask how their universe got started. I have no idea. So, yeah, I can't answer that. But, yeah, so the Anunnaki, I've never read. They do talk about the creator of everything. In fact, I'm the only person that solved the name of what they called the creator of everything. Yay me. There's my 5% IQ. that's why I'm in the 1%. But yeah, so the Anunnaki apparently spoke about the creator of everything. Now, they did call him the unseen creator of everything. Therefore, just like the 4,000 religions right now, asked any of them have they seen any of their gods, and they'll say no, they're unseen gods. So you start realizing, okay, maybe the Anunnaki didn't actually see an unseen god or creator, but assumed there was one, just like the 4,000 religions right now assume, based off of texts that they've got wrong. Obviously they have, because it's the Anunnaki. So it's totally possible that the Anunnaki got it wrong and just assumed that there was a creator of everything, because they'd never seen him. So that's pretty much all we've got on that. So I can't say 100% that there was a creator of everything, or that there was in communication with him, or that they had 100% evidence themselves. But the way, when you read it as unseen creator of everything, you wouldn't need to write unseen. Think about it. You wouldn't. If I was talking about the creator of everything, would I need to write unseen creator of everything? No, you just write creator of everything, because you would expect him not to be around because no one's ever seen him. You don't write unseen. You would only write unseen if you was a bit unsure. It's like, yeah, I'm a bit unsure, so that's why I think they said unseen. Bella's wrote, "Hello, wise one." Oh, thank you, Bella. Tell that to the person that said he believes I've only got 5% IQ. Thank you very much, Bella. And I thought the guy was being serious when he asked what my IQ was at the start. I thought he was expecting it to be, high. So that's why I said what it is, but turns out he was trying to knock me down. Move Hushes wrote, "I once had an experience with a jinn." Now you don't follow me. The problem is one of my moderators is going to ask you how, if they didn't, how do you know it was a jinn? Did it say hi? Thank you, Nicole. Thank you very much for the bear. I'm slightly scared by that, but thank you very much. You don't have to. So move Hush. I'm not knocking you. This is how we get to the evidence by cutting through sort of crap. How would you know that it was a jinn? I'd be very interested to know how you know. D-Boys wrote, "It seems like it reads like Azul is underground detail in gates, guards, etc." If you're referring to, hell, then yes, it was. You had to go through 7 gates. Everything was gated back then. That's why we've got gates around London and everything. They gated everything. That's what the cherub is talking about in the Bible about the. What are you doing, Clark? I'll get wine myself in a minute. You've just had some. Sorry, everybody. He's been cheeky again.
I'll get a drink for you. I'll get a drink for you.
Just leave it, Clark. I'm all right. Sorry. He knows that I'm on these lives and he tries to raid the fridge. So basically there was gates for everything. There was gates for heaven. That's how you get to heaven. You have to go through the gates, but not in space. There's no gates in space. Well, technically there is a sort of gate if you class one of the orbiting craft that Ezekiel had to go into. You could call it a door as well, but there were gates to actually get to the spaceport in Sipur. So, and there's basically gates everywhere. In fact, Inanna and her city had gates. Everything was gated. And so when you have 7 gates for the underworld, which was what the Anunnaki called the place over in Abzu, which is South Africa, it was at the tip of South Africa. I've narrowed it down from all my research to the tip of South Africa. Where that is, I don't know. I don't know South Africa that well, but it says the tip of, it's basically the tip of Absu, which is South Africa. So anyway, so there was gates there, and obviously Nurgle had the carving of the 3-headed dog, which is the Cerberus, which we know belongs to the underworld, so it's perfect. Everything matches, so yay me, I've solved that. But yes, it is underground. Now, there is a tablet that I've read recently that talks about one of the 15th king of the Sumerian king list that actually went to the Abzu, to the underworld, and it describes it was inside a mountain, which I'd said I believed it was inside a mountain. And in fact, there was a ferryman. In fact, you can even type in, if you're interested, who the Sumerian ferryman was. And they did. He took the people's either dead body or relatives to the underworld, such as Enki. So there was a ferryman, actually called Ferryman, to this place in South Africa. How no one else has solved it, and yet I come along and solve it straight away. That's my 5% IQ. It's amazing, isn't it? So yes, there was. Sorry if I'm being big-headed tonight. It's just when someone knocks me down, all I've got is my little brain. D-Boys wrote, "Crystal reproduces sand, dirt has in it, and when they reproduce, the new ones carry the traits of parents, a change in environment. Crystals reproduce sand, dirt has in it, and when they reproduce, the new ones carry traits of a parent and change in the environment." I'm just trying to see what that was referring to. Sorry, then you carry on. Sorry. Says the first 7, one could not hold up head, finally made a functional one. What happened to the others? So that's, sorry, I'm getting confused there. Sorry, there's 3 different things you sort of spoke about. So I'll go with the last one, which is nothing to do with, I don't think, the other two, where you're saying the first seven. Yeah, Enki or Enlil, Enki or Nimna did 6, and Enki or Nimna did the other one. I can't remember which way around. So it was 7, which is what I said earlier. Could not one could not hold up his head. Thank you, Shabazz. Yeah, one couldn't hold his urine back. One was a eunuch. One was a female. So we actually had the first female was was disabled by the Anunnaki that when they was trying to recreate or trying to create us for the first time. You wrote what happened to the other. Oh, I can tell you right now. Bear with. Let me just. I've got it near. It's on the tablet called Enki and Nimna. I'll read them out for you. Trying to find it. Sorry. Okay, so man. Right. Okay. So the first one was man could not bend his outstretched weak hands, so he had paralyzed or weak arms or hands. Second one. These are the first ever humans on this planet. Homo sapiens, should I say? Man who turned back the light with constantly opened eyes. Now, the people that translated that have put in brackets they believed it was he was blind or visually impaired. Then there was a man with both broken feet, paralyzed feet, in other words, mobility impaired. Man could not hold back his urine. And a woman who could not give birth. Told you there was a woman. And the other one is being neither, well, basically a eunuch. That's where the original word for eunuch comes from, the Anunnaki. So in other words, it was someone that couldn't, you know, poor person. So yeah, and then they gave them the daily bread. D-Boys wrote, and the one that gave his life for life force, you think has to be a legend mentioned more? You'd think, wouldn't you? Yeah, it's only in the art trials. But saying that, I mean, we have thousands or probably millions of tablets that's been hidden from us, so it probably is mentioned a lot more than the ones we're luckily found and translated. 9 p.m. from Jane. Thank you, Jane. Got us, Jane, again. D-Boys wrote, life force or DNA, soul, etc. seems used to make the first human. How one soul in us all. I went through, unfortunately, I've already gone through all of that myself. Earlier, someone asked a similar question, how one Anunnaki taking the ghost or soul, how that ended up in, 8 males and 8 females, which is what they ended up creating in the end, able-bodied ones. How that worked. I did go through a whole process of what I think possibly happened regarding the soul group, etc. So I can't revisit that because it was such a long thing that I waffled on about. D-Boy has then wrote Clash of the Titans. Did their souls move into others? So the Titans, if you're referring to the actual proper Titans, they were the gods on. When I say gods, the Dingir, their race name is Dingir, which translates to gods. The Anunnaki's race name, which translates to gods, which is why it's gods in the Bible. The Titans were all of, well, not all, but they were the gods on Nibiru, the home planet, or the kings, should I say, really. The Dingir kings on Nibiru, from King Anu backwards. So you got King Anu, which was, in the Greek terms, King Anu was, my brain's going now, Zeus's father. What's Zeus's father's name? No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. That's why I was getting confused. King Anu was in Greek. He was. It sounds like bloody. I'm terrible at pronunciations. It sounds like Upanishtam. It's not. It's orangutan or something like that. That's what his name was. And then Alula previously was Kronos. So they weren't related in any shape or form whatsoever. Go watch my amazing documentary on Kronos. You'll see. Kronos did exactly the same things that Alula did. So it's spot on, 100% guaranteed. So that's what the Titans were. They were just the kings of the Nibiru. So in other words, Enlil and Enki were not Titans. They weren't Titans. D-Boys wrote, is that cave system that housed 200,000, it seems to be in the underworld? So I was talking about a cave system earlier, which isn't really a cave system. It's more of a structure. You can't really live in there or anything like that. If that's one you're referring to, it appears from my research to be designed to do the same as what a pyramid does without actually having a pyramid, without having to build one. But there are cave systems that have, can house 200,000 people underground. That wouldn't be the underworld. No, the underworld was. I've got translations where I've done a documentary called Hell Solved, and in one tablet they actually call the Abzu. They call it the lower world, they call it the underworld, and they call it the netherworld, all in the same tablet. I was so lucky because that basically was like the Rosetta Stone for me. It was proving it. It wasn't, one tablet says this and one tablet says that. Well, how can you connect them to be the same place? I was lucky. I was very lucky. It worked. So no, underworld is South Africa in terms of the location. Abzu, you got lower Abzu and you got Abzu. Abzu is Africa, but the lower Abzu is where we're talking about the underworld. D-Boys wrote, it's stuff I looked up. Read on Crystal. Okay, interesting. Scrolling down. Oh, I've come to the end of the messages. So that's my perfect time to be that person that the Anunnaki created that could not urinate. I'm probably going to have to go and be that person otherwise. So if you've never listened to me before, I'm sorry that you've listened to me now. Visit my website. You just click on my profile, ourtruehistory.co.uk. You will find thousands of documentaries. The reason why we're limited to about 30 odd people, maximum is 40, is because TikTok limits me, because I'm good at what I do. I don't swear. I'm not rude really unless someone's numpty to me. So that's the reason. We used to have hundreds of people. So I am all these other people you listen to, Bashar, Billy Carson, all those make up stuff. They do. I've debunked them. If you want evidence of that, watch my documentaries. And with my documentaries, I show the evidence. I don't show my face like they do. Think about next time, guys, you see one of those supposed people that know what they're talking about. They'll either show AI or they'll show their face. What they won't do is show the evidence. They'll say, oh, in this tablet or in that tablet. I named I show you the translations of the tablets. So all you have to do, if you want to cut out all that crap that you've been fed by other people, and I mean it, all you have to do is visit my website, ourtruehistory.co.uk, just watch one video, pick one, and then go, okay, fair enough, he's good, he does what he says on the tin. So yeah, and I've got other live chats there as well from previous times. So if you're interested in driving and listening to me replying to people, sometimes I have people up as well. So sometimes it's not great. I'll be honest, it's not my fault. It's just the people that come on. So I'm sort of more selective on when I let people up because it's it slows the thing down. I'm quite quick. I like to think I'm quick, and then you get some people that just grind to a halt. So anyway, visit my website, ourtruehistory.co.uk. You won't be disappointed. And if you're new to the Anunnaki, scroll down on the homepage to where it says click here. So all you have to do is ourtruehistory.co.uk, scroll down homepage, click here, where it says click here on the homepage. You don't have to go anywhere else. That will take you to YouTube. Save that, watch it whenever you want. There's a documentary that proves the Anunnaki were real. Proves it. once you've watched that, that's my documentary. Once you've watched that, you'll go, okay, I understand now. I'll watch any of his other videos because they all make sense. Once you've got that knowledge that the Anunnaki were real, and obviously I show how we know they're real. Everything else, the Greeks, the Norse gods, you name it, it all falls into place beautifully. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for your kind comments at the end. I'm just reading. Nicholas wrote, "Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us, Artrahasis," which means extremely wise. Thank you very much, Nicole, for listening. Tucker's wrote, "Where did the jinn come from and how they came about?" So thank you, Jane. Night Goddess Jane. So just quickly, the jinn originated in Asia. That's the first mentions of them, and they seem to be some sort of light energy being that will possess certain animals, even inanimate objects, which is why you get the genie of the lamp story. Sorry, I'm going to have to whiz because I'm going to have to go to the toilet. UFO Annie's wrote, "Have a fantastic night." Thank you, UFO Annie, and I will catch everyone later. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Now, where's my spaceship? Where did I put